Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
And the crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. We are doing our week 4 recap. We are going to go into our top five, and we are already a month into the season. We're going to rank all of the big name rookies after 1 month into the season, and we're going to do our week 5 picks and predictions, and of course, we're going to end it all off with the Chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football.
America is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass. For the moment in time, I don't give a damn. Oh my god.
No!
You loved it.
It's 30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. I'm Kyle and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, let's go.
I tried to time it perfect so you were taking your drink and you couldn't do it. We got Daniel in the chat. He is the first message from the live chat. What's up, Daniel? We are going to have a loaded episode for you today. We're going to be doing our recap maybe a little bit faster than usual because we're also going to be putting our predictions for week 5 into this episode. Also, it's October, which means
Hey, let's go.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Let's go.
I love Breast Cancer Awareness Month because it's personal for me because I feel like everybody knows somebody that had breast cancer. My dad's sister had breast cancer. She beat breast cancer.
Nice.
And for those of you that don't know what this month's about, you might just see the ribbon. It's about supporting people with breast cancer. It's about educating people about breast cancer risks and factors. It's about encouraging women to go get regular tests so you can catch it early. And it's about fundraising for breast cancer. So I just wanted to throw that out there because you're going to start seeing a lot of pink on the field.
Yeah.
You're going to see the pink gloves, the pink jerseys, and we definitely support it here on the channel. So
yeah, 100%.
Going into our first game, we're going to start off with Thursday. Thursday was a game that the Giants really needed. But you could make an argument the Cowboys needed it more because the expectations are a little bit higher for the Cowboys than they are the Giants. But the Giants were coming off a win, and we were wondering maybe that would be the win to catapult them to a similar season we saw 2 years ago when they made it to the playoffs. And that was not what it was, it turned out. Overall, the Giants, I hate to say it, but I just don't think that they're going to have that type of a season this year.
No.
The Cowboys, they get a win, but it was not a dominating win by any means. The Giants kind of hung around there. There was the worst call of the year when they called a face mask on the opening drive. By the way, the Giants had picked up like 3 first downs at the time of the penalty. So that is pretty brutal because it actually ended their drive, whereas maybe they were going to score and maybe that would have made a difference in the game. who's to say? But we do know it was a terrible call for the Cowboys. They get a win. I can tell Dan Quinn's gone. That's one of my big takeaways from this game is the Cowboys look beatable. I predicted this. I know the Cowboys won 12 games the last 3 years in a row, but that didn't mean they were going to do it again. When you look at the changes that were made to the roster, I think the only way that the Cowboys can be really like a Super Bowl contender this year is if Jerry Jones actually goes all in and makes a trade for Devontae Adams, who we'll talk about later.
Absolutely. And we got our boy Lil E in here. Lil E, what up? Thanks for joining us, Lil E. Dude, he went all in. He went all in, dude. He said it. He went all in. Yeah, that game, I got to give a lot of credit to the Giants, man. Daniel Jones looked decent. Unfortunately, when it got to the red zone, it was just like, I don't know, non-existent, I would say, right? Because I don't even think they scored one touchdown. I think there was just all field goals, like not one single touchdown. Oh, Lily, let's go.
Let's go with the 20-year.
Yeah. With the 20-year. Happy early birthday, Lil E. We're not going to be streaming tomorrow, but thanks for reminding us. Happy early birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, they looked good. Malik Neighbors is a stud. He is a stud. Now, this is the conversation we're going to have, I feel like, for the rest of the year. Is like, imagine Malik Neighbors with a decent quarterback. This is going to be the conversation. If he was like on really any other team, it seems like, with a good quarterback. He had a really good game. Unfortunately, he is in concussion protocol. I think we still have to monitor his status for week 5, but he looked really good. I cannot agree with you more about the Cowboys. The defense is not there. DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt. Micah Parsons seems like he's nursing an injury. So they seem like they're struggling on the defensive side. They come away with the win, like you said, but nowhere near as convincing. Now, it was a division game, and yes, they play each other tough, but you would have expected a lot more from this Cowboys team if they're going to win the division like I predicted, but it's not looking good. It's really not looking that great. But hey, again, the dub is what matters. They came away with the win, and the Cowboys get their second win of the season there.
Yeah, and just imagine what a loss it would have been, like three straight loss. That would have been Armageddon for everybody in Dallas. All right, next up, we're going to go over your Bears. Now, I saw a deep breakdown of Caleb Williams at the line of scrimmage, a film breakdown of the plays that they're calling from Mark Sanchez. And one of the things that is obvious is that they're trusting Caleb Williams more with more complex plays offensively. Very long, lengthy plays, hard to regurgitate, because you got to hear it twice in the headset, then you got to say it. And you see on a couple of these plays that he is actually going left to right in his reads, and many times he's hitting the fifth read, which is cool because it shows that he's getting it. He's seeing the field for what it is, and he's making good decisions. There's still a lot of room for improvement. I thought that the Rams kind of come into this game with nobody but Matthew Stafford. It felt like it was Matthew Stafford against the Bears. And DeAndre Swift, who I was really pounding the table for, saying, no, I like him. And you're like, I'm done with him.
Yeah.
Well, he comes into the game averaging 1.8 yards a carry. And he finally had that game where I feel like I knew that he had it in him. I think a lot of Bears fans, because when it's personal to your team, you're so quick to just give up. Like, you don't understand what Jets fans are doing right now, and we'll get to that. But it's just you get too emotional about it.
Right.
But DeAndre Swift kind of comes back out, has 114 yards of offense. Or through the first 3 weeks of the season, finally had a good game. He was the leading rusher in the game, and the leading receiver in the game. So all-purpose yards was like 160, I think. I don't have it in front of me.
Something like that,
but he had a 36-yard rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter. That was the Bears' longest since Velus
Mm-hmm.
Jones Jr. ran a 42-yard touchdown week 18 of 2022, which is like, wow, it's been
Yep.
2 years since a running back has had a 36-yard rushing touchdown. I
And
got to be
insane.
careful because I don't know how long it's been for me, but like, it just seems like that should have happened a little bit sooner than 22. But
Yeah.
overall, Chicago gets a win at home, and I think Caleb Williams, this is a sign of a good team because you
Mm-hmm.
have a punter that can flip the field. He can boot
Yeah.
it 70 yards.
Yep.
You got a kicker that doesn't miss, and then you have a bunch of weapons and a good running game. So it's like the Bears should be winning these games. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a formula for, catered to the Bears right now for them to win without Caleb Williams needing to do a ton, because you can flip the field position, because you can kick your field goals from, once you cross the 40, it's almost a guarantee. So the
Mm-hmm.
Bears should be winning these type of games, and they did get it. I don't know if my feelings have changed on the Bears one way or another from this game. I'm just kind of the same on the Bears right now.
Yeah, this game was it was just a damn good game, I think, on all phases. Um what I want to start off with the Rams. The Rams ran the ball really well. The Rams ran the ball extremely well. They are very injured at wide receiver. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, 1 and 2 out of the lineup. Any team is going to struggle that way without their number 1 and number 2. I mean, we look at Rashee Rice from the Chiefs, and we'll talk about them a little bit later, but that's going to be a struggle regardless of what team, what quarterback it is. It's going to be rough. They ran the ball really well. I really believe Sean McVay made a huge mistake by not running Kyren Williams at very key moments later in the game, third and fourth quarters, because they couldn't stop it. The Bears defense could not stop the run. That is what they're going to, unless they improve later on the rest of the season. That's just something that all teams have got to do against the Bears is run the ball. They can't stop it. They cannot. So I think, in my opinion, Sean McVay should have ran the ball on like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 at certain points in the second half because the Bears couldn't stop it. I feel like that was the mistake. Yes, you have Matthew Stafford, who is a borderline, if not already a Hall of Fame quarterback, there at your disposal, but you got to do with what was working, and that was the run. So I feel like Sean McVay missed a huge opportunity not running there. They could have sealed the game for the Rams, really. Now on to the Bears. I already talked about the defense. They can't stop the run. They are still very, very good in the pass game. Yes, Jalen Johnson, a couple of the other guys got beat, but they took the ball away from Matthew Stafford. It was a strip sack, and it was an interception to end the game by Jaquan Brisker. Jaquan Brisker, by the way, one of the top, I would say, like, easily getting to be one of the top safeties in the league. So the defense did their job, and I think will continue to do their job. Again, it's just the run game that they are severely struggling in. On the offense, love that Caleb Williams only threw the ball, how many was it? 23 times, 157 yards and a touchdown. Love to see that compared to the 52 times he had to throw the other week. Love that DeAndre Swift finally turned it on and was able to get all those receiving yards as well as rush yards, because he broke for that 40-something yard touchdown, and it was the most exciting run play he has had so far this season. I also loved how Caleb Williams used his checkdowns way more effectively than he had been. I love that his eyes go downfield on every pass play there is, but I think week 4 was finally like him realizing that, hey, the checkdowns work really, really well. And in this situation, it was to DeAndre Swift, who caught the ball, made sure to make a good play out of it too. So he was using his checkdowns. That was really effective. The offensive line struggled, but as soon as Tevin Jenkins went out, which was the weirdest thing, the line improved, which was that second quarter, like towards the end of the second quarter. As soon as he was out with injury, the line just improved immensely. I don't know what that is or why that is, but kind of weird that happened. Shane Waldron finally used Roschon Johnson in goal line situations, and you saw how that worked. They scored a touchdown with Roschon, and it was finally like clicking. Like the offense looked like it was more balanced. Yes, Caleb didn't have more than 200 yards passing, but when the offense is working like that and the defense aside from not stopping the run, is doing what they do really well and taking the ball away, it's going to work like that. And then you mentioned it. Torrey Taylor, our punter, 4th round, flipping the field, 64, 66-yard punts, pinning them inside the 10, inside the 20. You cannot put a value on that type of punt because it is so valuable to flip the field, like you said. So Bears come out with the win, 2-2 on the season. They got Carolina up next. We'll go into the predictions a little bit later, but it feels a little bit better, more balanced now for the Bears. So I enjoyed that win.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams completed only 44% of his passes against the blitz through the first 3 weeks of football, but he was 8 for 9 for 75 yards with a touchdown when the Rams blitzed.
And 124 passer rating, which was the best in that week. So he's improving. Awesome. Yeah, we got Bill in the chat. Bill! What up, what up?
What did I miss? All right, let's go back to the beginning. So welcome.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Football. Not much. We just talked about the Giants game, so you'll definitely want to run it back later. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, the football gods denied us of a game that we thought was going to be really good, Tampa Bay and Philly. This was supposed to be one of those games where it felt like a playoff game. Tom Brady was calling the game. He was on the field signing autographs before the game. That was kind of cool. Yeah. And I don't know if that inspired Baker Mayfield. You actually heard a comment from the locker room where it's like, some of the players that play with Tom Brady are like, it's good to, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, it's good to have football fun again. Like Tom Brady, who's just like all too intense, not enough fun, I guess.
He's like, sorry, I like to win, guys. My bad.
Oh, I didn't know it reminds me of Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling? Because football's fun. Football's fun. No. Make up your mind. Is it fun? No.
No,
it's not fun.
Sir.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore, sir.
0 fun, sir. All right. My name's Coach Boone. This game, Tampa just kind of got out and ran away with it, which I was really happy because I was like, Philly, they kind of got their defense going last week. Mm-hmm. And Denver shut Tampa down last week. I mean, almost shut them out, 0. Yeah. And then this week, they're back to normal, which says a lot about my team, which is pretty cool. So some people were, oh my God, they lost to Denver. Sell your Tampa Bay stock. They're not who we thought they were. And then, this is the thing about it. We'll talk more about it later, but now Tampa comes out and does something like this. And you're like, okay, I think Tampa's going to be good. They're definitely a playoff team. And I think when you look at Baker and the weapons that he has, they get the ball to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. It's probably one of the best receiving corps in the NFL. And they're consistently one of the best, but for some reason, they never get mentioned in that conversation because it's like, oh, Mike Evans is kind of old. We've been saying that for 4 years and he just turned 30. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it's for whatever reason, I think Tampa Bay's offense is a little underrated. They exploited the Eagles' defense. They exploited Vic Fangio, his soft coverage that he runs with a ton of quick hitters. They were able to protect the right side of the offensive line, which was important because they were without Luke Goedeke, who had the concussion. Defensively, their pass rush saw 6 sacks after 2 in the first 3 games, and their secondary looked really, I'm not going to say really good, but definitely better than we've seen so far. So this was just an all-around great win for Tampa. The Bucs have officially entered arguably the most difficult stretch of the season for them. They have 3 divisional games in a span of 4 weeks, plus games against the Ravens, Chiefs, and 49ers. 3 of those games will be played on primetime, including the Falcons on the road this week. And that'll be really fun to watch because we had an NFC South game last week with the Saints and the Falcons. Now we get Bucks Falcons. But overall, I think Tampa Bay has reinserted themselves as the best team in the NFC South. And this is exactly who I thought they were in the offseason because of what they showed me to close out last season. And they, in my opinion, they picked up right where they left off. And they're a playoff team. They'll be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, no, the Bucks had a really, really good game against the Eagles, not only on the offense but on the defense. Bucks sacked Jalen Hurts 6 times, forced the fumble. The defense, for all of its kind of like not issues, but almost, I want to say, just like there's something more that Bucks fans have wanted from this defense. It showed them what they've wanted the first 3 weeks in week 4 against the against the Eagles. So really good game by the defense, again, especially after what was going on there the first 3 weeks. And they wanted to get that bad taste out of their mouth from last week against Denver. You know, Denver put up a really good fight, and Baker unloaded. 3 touchdown passes, 347 yards. Mayfield had a rushing touchdown. Bucky Irving had a rushing touchdown. Evans and Palmer had receiving touchdowns. So just all around, Baker only had 2 passing touchdowns. All around a really good and complete game for the Bucks. The Eagles, on the other hand, I don't know what to make of them right now, because with Saquon, they just, like, the first couple of weeks, it was like, oh man, Saquon is bringing this team back. There's something up with Jalen Hurts. Now, granted, he doesn't have A.J. Brown. He doesn't have Devontae Smith. And again, we talked about, just like when we were talking about the Rams, it's difficult to get this offense going without your number 1 and your number 2. And that's exactly what Jalen Hurts is having to go through right now. But it still runs a little deeper than that with head coach Nick Sirianni, right? So there's still that thing going on. And he gave a very cryptic post-game message, like something about like, do you guys talk about changing things at the line or whatever on the offense after a game? And he goes, we have our moments. And that's all he said. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? So I know Eagles fans especially are like, okay, what's going on? Is Nick Sirianni the problem? Is Jalen Hurts the problem? Because it seems like when that Super Bowl year was happening, it was like, oh, it's only up from here. And then they had that second half collapse last year into a bad showing against the Bucks in the playoffs, into this year now with Saquon Barkley, adding to the running back room, which improved, right? So I don't know. Eagles fans are probably like tearing their hair out, like, what the fuck is going on? And then the defense, nowhere near as good as they were the last couple of seasons. They're struggling a bit. Again, it seems like that second half collapse from last year is spilling over into 2024. And they've got very talented people like all over that defense. It's just something's not clicking now again. So I don't know, again, if it's the coaching, what it is, if they're just missing assignments, if they're just not giving all their effort, which is a weird thing to say from NFLers. But there's a lot of, it feels like there's a lot of eggshells being walked around in Philly right now. So Eagles take this loss and they look bad doing it. I'm sure they're going to try to pick up the pieces with Saquon there after giving him so much money, but they do not look good right now, especially in that NFC East.
Yeah, and we'll continue in the NFC South going into the Falcons and the Saints. In my opinion, this was one of the wildest games I've seen between these two teams. The deciding moment, of course, came at the end with a 58-yard field goal by Young Ho Koo. My biggest takeaway from this game is it's not too early to hit the panic button on Kirk Cousins. I think there is something wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Raheem Morris just running the team and not, because obviously he's not running the offense. But part of being a head coach is if whoever is running the offense isn't doing a good job, you fix it. You're kind of the final filter of what they're doing on the field. And to me, it's just not good enough. I mean, even on that final game-winning drive when they kicked the 58-yard field goal, Kirk Cousins had 6 yards, I believe 6 yards passing on that final drive. Like it was only penalties that got him down there to
Yeah.
begin with. So Atlanta suddenly pulls away from the Saints. Both of them are 2-2 with the tiebreaker now, winning 2 games out of their last 3 weeks. But this game left a lot to be desired if you're a Falcons fan. And the Saints, they got more than 80 receiving yards from both Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, which is on the other side. Like, Derek Carr's continuing to play really good football. I don't know if it's because they drafted a young guy. He did say that he was going to go back and he was doing his college workouts. He was doing stuff that he hasn't done since college. He said he had more energy than he's ever had. He broke his PR for squats and stuff like that. So he's just in a different mindset going into this year. And I feel like it's benefiting him. And it's kind of obvious that something's different with him. So good on him for putting in the work, because it's obvious. The Saints lost because they had 2 turnovers and they failed on the final drive of the game to hold on to the football. So, oh my God. And the like I said, the penalties crushed them. The 30-yard pass interference penalty with 23 seconds left. That's the only reason the Falcons are able to kick this field goal. So the Saints almost have it, but they don't, not yet. And there were people that were like, the Saints are a top 5 team, after week 2 because of the yards they were putting up.
Yep.
That's why we don't jump the gun week 1 and week 2, because the Saints, although are going to be a competitive week in and week out team, they're not yet the best team in this division. I do think they're probably better than Atlanta right now, even though they lost this game, because they beat themselves, which says a lot about what they could be if they clean it up. But I still think it goes Tampa, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. And by the Panthers with Andy Dalton, I mean, they could probably beat the Falcons right now. Not even kidding about that. Yeah. So Kyle Pitts, I think, is going to get on the trading block, man. He just hasn't performed. I feel like if you're Atlanta and you're going through this rebuild, Kyle Pitts was somebody that was centered around Arthur Smith. He was the one that wanted him and drafted him. Arthur Smith's gone. When you start the season and you just aren't doing anything, I could see the new, the new head coaching, the whole team just being like, hey, this isn't our guy, and we could probably get some good value for him. And we're kind of rebuilding, even though we're not going to say it. We obviously need more, and Kyle Pitts is a piece that we could potentially get some value for next year. But yeah, that's kind of my takeaways from this game. Atlanta, they could be really good if they could just get it. And this is why we don't just say because they made all these moves that they're going to be good, is because you can make all the right moves, but if it doesn't, turn into, like, these guys got to still learn how to play together and learn each other's timing and stuff like that. And Atlanta hasn't done that. But before you throw away your Atlanta stock, just keep in mind that Tampa, when Tom Brady got there, didn't really figure it out till week 8. And Kirk Cousins, like Tom Brady, is an older quarterback joining a new young team. So I think Atlanta could figure it out. But right now they have it.
Yeah, I agree. What's going on with the offense there with Kirk Cousins? Also, Bijan Robinson, 7 touches, 28 yards. He got 4 receptions, but 7 touches for the running back, Bijan Robinson, who's supposed to be this like first round draft pick that, from a couple of years ago. It's like, what? Like, it's starting to become Arthur Smith again type of shit. It's like, is he in the doghouse for some reason? No. Why is he only getting 7 touches? So I don't know what's going on with the offense there. Kyle Pitts, I feel like, is going to be like a Noah Fant. Like, Noah Fant was like someone who had potential. And then it's like, oh shit, Noah Fant with a catch. Nice. Good for him. It's starting to become like that for Kyle Pitts. So either he doesn't have it or he's got to get traded, like you said. Obviously the pass interference got them within range for the field goal. Younghoe Koo gets the fucking kick, which was super exciting to see because Younghoe Koo had been struggling, I think, earlier this season too, with some kicks. So good to see him kind of come out of that and take this win against a division rival. The Saints, you said it about Carr, man. I guess he saw Spencer Rattler waiting on the bench and was like, no, hold up, fam. I still got a lot of good football in me because what did we talk about preseason, right? Like, how many weeks into the season is David Carr going to be replaced by Spencer Rattler? And right now, it's like, no, that is not the case. Yes, they lost. They're 2-2, but those first 2 weeks, in my opinion, were not a fluke. It's just, they kind of came back down to earth a little bit. You start off hot with those 40+ point games or whatever. You're a really good offense, and then you come back down to earth in that sense. But David Carr and the Saints looking good. Alvin Kamara is still looking really good, by the way. 19 attempts, 77 yards, and a touchdown. He got 7 receptions and 42 yards. Like, it seems like the offense is still running through Kamara, which is good for me because I drafted him in fantasy. So, he's doing extremely well. And Lil E with the fiver. My boys in the panel and my boys in the chat, best fam to be a part of. Still hates that the Jets lost to the Broncos because of the Hackett versus Peyton beef. And we got Bill with a membership. Let's go. He said, I will eventually make 671 people members. I love it.
Hopefully we get more subs as you're on that quest.
Exactly. But yeah, the Saints, I like what they're doing offensively. It's another tough division opponent. I don't think the Saints are done yet with Carr and with all these guys there on the offense. Olave and Rashid Shaheed, definitely 1 and 2 right now in terms of wide receivers. So I don't know, man. I don't know about the Saints. I don't know where to put them. You know what I mean? Like at 2-2 with the offense and the weapons they have, like it's still really difficult to kind of gauge where they're at. But I think they're going to be good for 7-8 wins this year.
Wow, 7-8 wins. That's not bold.
At the beginning of the preseason, what do we put them at? We put them at like 5, 6.
Oh, yeah. No, it is an improvement for sure.
Yeah, definitely an improvement.
All right. Another team that has improved drastically is the Panthers, who are no longer a easy win, which the Bengals might be because the Bengals were looking for their first win of the season. Yeah. It took 4 weeks. Cincinnati finally got a win. Not punting against the Commanders on Monday night. That was a huge reason that they ended up losing. But the offense looked alive in this game. They had 373 total yards and 6 yards per play. And like I said, while Carolina did lose this game, it wasn't the embarrassment that we saw week in and week out with Bryce Young in this offense. And you really think about Bryce Young, and it's like he's sitting on the sideline, he's watching Andy Dalton, and he's watching his team score and, celebrate on the sideline. And he's like, he's got to clap his hands, and do the teamwork thing. But it's like his confidence must be crumbling on that sideline. And the longer he stands there, the more I think it becomes unlikely that he is able to recover from this situation that has got to be crushing, because it's like, why could he do it and I couldn't? It would be one thing if Andy Dalton went in and just couldn't get it done and he was still being supportive. Deep down, you're like, you have more emphasis in your clap when you're cheering on, a losing effort. A losing effort. It's like, yeah, hey, come on, keep your head up. Come on, slapping asses out there. But when Andy Dalton's out there slinging it and going toe to toe with Joe Burrow, it's like, damn, Joe Burrow was a first overall pick. Andy Dalton was, I don't think he was. I think he was like a third round pick.
First round, I think. I thought he was first.
Was he?
I think so.
It was so long ago, I can't remember, but
yeah, he's been in the league 14 years.
But going forward, the Panthers have hope for being a tough out every single week, which is what was tricky about this team because you saw the moves they made during the offseason. And it was like, man, I could see this team being good, actually. They bring in Deontay Johnson and Josie Jewell and the L'Jarius Sneed. No, that was Tennessee. But they brought in a lot of
Close, yeah.
offseason additions, and it was kind of just like, okay, Bryce Young's got to do it now. And we're beyond that now. But Jamar Chase, for the second straight game, has made elite plays that has sparked the offense. He caught a 41-yard touchdown against the Commanders to get things rolling. On Sunday, the game was tied at 7, and he broke multiple tackles and went 63 yards. He is that guy, and Cincinnati's going to need more of him to get those chunk yard plays. But look, 34 points, that's a good win for the Bengals. Despite winning this game, I don't think everything's great for the Bengals. Cam Taylor-Britt was kind of in and out of the lineup after getting beaten, and then later committed a penalty. And then they also lost Hendrickson. I don't remember if there's an update on that. I just remember seeing him go out. So I don't remember if it was a card or not, but if I remember correctly, it didn't look like an injury he'd be back from in a week.
Yeah. The Bengals needed this win, man. They needed this win badly. I mean, they're 1-3 on the season. If they lost to the Panthers and Andy Dalton, would have been a rough kind of mountain to climb at that point at 0-4. But they take the dub. Jamar Chase had one of the best touchdown catches, runs, probably of the season. In this game, he caught it. He broke like 3 tackles of Panthers, and then he had T. Higgins kind of lead the way as a lead blocker into the end zone. So Jamar Chase finally, like, it felt like he finally fucking showed up this year, you know? He had that really good touchdown, as well as Zach Moss. And Joe Burrow, for the most part, looked much better than he has been this season. I don't know, man. Like, they won by 10, 34-24, but it didn't really feel like it, I guess, in a way for the Bengals. I mean, I don't know, because the Panthers were there. Halftime, it was 21-14. The Bengals put up 10 and then 7. So it was like the Bengals were there pretty much the entire time up until the end. This didn't feel like a win of the Panthers. It just was like, I felt like the Panthers lost this game really against this Bengals defense, who's been struggling too. Like, can't do anything against anybody. But the Bengals finally showed up. They got their first win of the season. Is this going to be a slow start? I'm sure Bengals fans and the team are hoping so, that they're going to be able to recover like they usually do. It's going to be tough against the Ravens and even how good the Steelers have been looking so far this year. So I don't know what
I have to unlock my door really quick.
Okay. I don't know what it's going to look like for the Bengals to kind of claw out of this 1-3 hole, especially with those top 2 teams there. The Ravens have been killing it. So as far as the Panthers, they've obviously looked a lot better with Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton I believe he had some sort of injury trouble, if not, unless they took him out for just kind of, they were losing at the end, so they decided to put somebody else in. Deontay Johnson has looked really damn good ever since Andy Dalton became quarterback. I mean, this is kind of what the Deontay Johnson we've seen before with the Steelers, and what I felt like Steelers fans were expecting for him, but before he got traded to the Panthers. So he looks really good. Chuba Hubbard looks really good at running back, over 100 yards rushing for the Panthers. And actually another running back in this game, Chase Brown, 80 yards on 15 attempts, 2 touchdowns for the Bengals. They got to start feeding Chase Brown more. The Bengals have got to start feeding Chase Brown more, because he is so far, in terms of like electrifying plays, and just, I don't know, it seems like he's just an overall better running back in year 2 than Zach Moss. I still think they have a really good 2-headed monster there with him and Zach Moss, but Chase Brown had a really, really good game this year. Former U of I, Illinois guy, almost, was in Heisman consideration his last year before being drafted. So I'm liking what I'm seeing there, but the Panthers with Andy Dalton look so much better. What do you? Both of these teams, Kyle, are 1-3. What are they? A different 1-3, or do you see? Do you think they're like a similar 1-3 right now?
No, one of them has Joe Burrow. They're totally different. Joe, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to be that brutal about it,
Mm,
but Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
mm,
One of these teams has Jamar Chase.
true.
One of these teams has been to a Super Bowl, and pretty much the standard is that they go to an AFC championship, whereas like the Panthers there's no expectations and they don't have any elite talent and firepower. I mean, Andy Dalton's a
Right.
great story, but
Yeah.
it's not like he's going to bring this team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's like the beginning of the season, the first 4 games, they're looking quite similar, but you're right. Like the quarterback situation is very different. The wide receivers are very different. It is lopsided in terms of skill players from one team to another, for sure.
Let's see, there's a conversation about me unlocking the door.
It involves Kyle unlocking his door. You're in my
All right.
fantasy, Bill. I fucking love that shit.
What's
Uh,
what do me and what do the Broncos in my front door have in common?
Uh, they didn't let Aaron Rodgers through. I don't know.
If Bryce Young were at my front, or if Bryce Young, my head's still on Bryce Young. If Garrett Wilson was at my front door, he would have been locked out too, because Sertan has locked him up
Yeah.
again.
Hmm.
And it's funny, I was listening to a Jets fan rant about the Broncos and Jets game, and he was going on about, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Like, our star power is not producing well enough. They're not talented enough. And he goes on to say how Garrett Wilson is having a down year because of his performance on Sunday, not ever bringing up the fact that Patrick Surtain was the person covering him. And I'm like, well, you could ask Mike Evans, you could ask DK Metcalf, you could ask who was week 3 or week 2, George Pickens.
Yeah.
You could ask all the number ones what their production is. Mostly it's like 1 catch, 3 targets, 30 yards.
Hmm.
Like normally you get 1 on him and it's like a crazy just acrobatic catch where there was perfect coverage. But like that's kind of the standard for Surtain. So
Hmm.
the Broncos defense is really one of the best defenses in the league. And I think people are still using the Broncos as like a shameful loss. Like, oh, we
Hmm.
lost the Broncos. How embarrassing. And, and I think it's like, okay, well, we have won back-to-back weeks against Tampa Bay and the Jets.
Hmm.
So either both of those teams are just playing bad football against us,
Hmm.
or maybe our defense is making it really difficult for opponents. Like, yeah, Bo Nix didn't throw for 200 yards. No, Aaron Rodgers was on the other side. He was struggling the entire day too. It
Yeah.
was a really crummy day. Just the rain pouring down. The quarterbacks were shocked putting the ball. They weren't even able to grip it. You had Bo Nix getting the athletic trainer was running out a new hand warmer every play. That's
Hmm.
how wet it was. And he was like
So
clipping it
wet.
on, and like he had his hands in throughout the whole entire play call, and then just taking it out for the snap to try to keep it, keep
Hmm.
his hands dry. It was just one of those games. And every year, every team has one like that.
Hmm.
So I'm not too concerned about it. Like I said, as soon as it stopped raining, Bo Nix led the team down on a really impressive drive. What I am really impressed about is Mike McGlinchey's replacement, Alex Palczewski, who was somebody that was just supposed to fill in. He's looking awesome. Like people are already like, what are we gonna do? Like,
Hmm.
there's people watching the film and are like, look at this guy. I mean, he's getting push. He's protecting the quarterback. He looks like our best offensive lineman, and we paid Mike McGlinchey all the money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the guy that went to Illinois. You know,
Hmm.
a really cool story. He had like a spine injury, and he
Oh
had to
wow.
fight just to get back to playing high school football. And his family's not well off by any means, so the scholarship to Illinois like brought him to tears when he got it because he was able to get a free education. Like, somebody that just like has a great story, and those tend to be the people that are the hungriest on the field and make the
Hmm.
most of their opportunities. And Alex Palczewski is one of those guys that's making the most of his opportunity. But defensively, now we're second in points, giving up like the least amount of total yards per game. Every team that we've played has struggled massively. The Seahawks threw an interception on the second play of the season. Denver's first play of the season was a sack. And that was kind of a sign of things to come. And Vance Joseph in this defense is clicking. The
Hmm.
pass rush is amazing. We have a guy that leads the NFL in pressures in Zach Allen.
Oh.
Our cornerbacks are amazing. Of course, Sertan, but Riley Moss is playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Hmm.
Safety, Brandon Jones, who replaced Justin Simmons, we thought, okay, there's going to be a little bit of drop off. There hasn't been. The fit has been seemingly perfect for him to come in, and they're also just flying around making hits. And Sean Payton's using a bunch of players. Like, he got rid of the Randy Gregory's, and he's using the Alex Pelcheski's and the Jaleel McLaughlins and the Jalen McMillan, which he just said is pronounced Macmillan. But he's using all these
Macmillan.
guys that are nobody wanted. And I just heard an interview with Drew Brees the year that they won the Super Bowl. Drew Brees was coming off of a major surgery. He didn't
Hmm.
think he was ever going to be able to play at a high level again. The city of New Orleans was just devastated by Hurricane Katrina, and they were not a free agent destination. And he said, we called ourselves like, basically all the players that went there were the ones that nobody wanted, and it created
Mm.
this kind of mentality. And they were able to win a Super Bowl together because the type of player that would want to go to a city that was just devastated by a hurricane, it was a special type of player that could see the vision of what they were trying to say. Like, hey, it's not great now. There's nowhere to go. But if we can win a Super Bowl, we can bring hope back to this city that just went through something that, will affect generations. Like,
Hmm.
the type of person that would buy into that was the kind of people they were recruiting. This feels very similar with the players that Sean is grabbing, because he made the comment that these are all, what do you call, dogs, that stray dogs.
Hmm.
He made that comment, like, Zach Wilson and all, Bo Nix, the last selected in the first round out of the
Hmm.
quarterbacks, and all these players that nobody else wanted, but Sean wanted them because he saw their potential. And it's cool to see potential, but until it translates on the field, it's all talk. But
Yeah.
now we're seeing that we actually do have something here. And Sean does have an eye for evaluating talent, because it just happens that these guys from Illinois and these undrafted players are leading the NFL as the top defense in the league, which is pretty impressive. So if Denver, I'm not ready to say they're a playoff team, but I am ready to say that if they can hold their opponents to 14 points or less, you're not
Hmm.
really asking Bo Nix at that point to do all that much to win the football game. And I think that's a good recipe as he continues to learn and develop. We could probably win a lot of games just if the defense can continue to play at this level.
Yeah, the defense is doing really, really well for Denver. Again, a lot of people preseason, and really myself included, didn't really expect this from the defense. They had just gotten rid of who's the linebacker again that they got rid of?
Josie Jewell.
Josie
And
Jewell,
Alex
right?
Singleton just went out with the torn ACL. And it
Yeah.
was
So you're
Justin
seeing these
Chernod
things.
that stood up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And ever since I got my tattoos, they're 2-0, and it happened to be the two players of the game or the two players that signed me. How weird is that?
See, there you go. It's 2-0 since tattoo. N-O tattoo. So, yeah, man, the defense is stepping up. I think they're like top 5, top 4 in yards allowed per game, something like that, points per game, whatever it may be. But the Denver defense is up there. I unless there's like significant improvement on the offensive side of the ball, because Jaleel McLaughlin has looked better. Bo Nix has looked good in the last couple games. Obviously not this week, right? Like it was rainy. There was a lot of shit going on.
Javonte was the big surprise. He had
Javonte.
an old type of a game where he was
Yeah,
the second half. They were running the football like they were going on drives that were just runs, no passes, and moving
exactly.
down the field.
And I felt like in that environment you had to, right? Like it was wet, it was slippery. You could see the ball not coming out of Bo Nix's hands very well. And again, like unless the offense severely improves, the defense can do really extremely well. I just don't see Denver week 4 as a playoff team, but that can obviously improve, right? Just not right now. I just don't think right now. I don't really see them as a playoff team. But with the way the defense is playing, like you said, if Sean can get unlock Bo Nix or have a very balanced attack to where Bo Nix is, you know, throwing passes 10 yards, 7 yards, getting those chunk plays from Bo Nix, while Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin can power through for 3-4 yard runs. Shit, it could absolutely happen. There could be definitely a wild card in the future for Denver, because the Chargers aren't looking very well, and the Raiders, they seem to be crumbling. And that actually leads me into this comment by Lil Lee with a 5er again. Does Davante Adams go to the Jets for Hassan Reddick to Vegas? Now, Davante Adams clearly has ties to Aaron Rodgers, who struggled in this game as well. Garrett Wilson has been struggling all season, but when you're going up against guys like Patrick Surtain, you're going to be struggling. Like the connection between Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson is definitely something that is still kind of in the works. But again, it's hard to go up against top, cornerbacks in the league and expect to have 2 touchdowns, 100 plus yards, 7, 8, 9 receptions against these guys. But would this be a possibility, Kyle? Davante Adams going to the Jets?
Of course. I will say, if there's one takeaway for the Jets that they should be really happy about, it's that Mike Williams looked awesome in this game.
He did.
He made a lot. He was the offense. Allen Lazard was also good, but Mike Williams, I don't see it. It's almost like if you get Davante Adams and you don't win the Super Bowl, it's like embarrassing, right? Because at that point, it's like, okay, Surtain can only lock up one of them. And then if you had somebody like Davante Adams as your wide receiver too, but look at Houston, like how's that working out for them, right? They bring in Stephon Diggs when they already had
they're struggling too.
2 good receivers, and they're struggling. Offenses are just struggling right now, and I don't know if the answer is to bring in another star wide receiver, although I do think that his connection with Aaron Rodgers would be a good thing. I don't know if it would benefit Garrett Wilson, who is the long-term person that you want to invest in, that you just drafted. So I think the better place for him to go is a place like Dallas, where it's like all they have is CeeDee Lamb. They don't have a Breece Hall. But of course, if the Jets did make a move like that, I think it would be a good move. It's almost hard to fathom that they could do it because of the talent that's already on the team.
Yeah, if you're not unlocking the talent that you already have in Garrett Wilson, and
exactly
exactly like you're saying, like how is, Davante Adams adds a little bit extra, not Mike Williams, not Allen Lazard. You add a little bit there. You add like a true 1 and 2 punch, in my opinion. And again, the Aaron Rodgers connection is there. So I like it. Will they do it? Who knows? We'll
Bill!
see. And we got Bill. I gave you your day. Now it's time for me to reassert my dominance. All in fun, of course. Let's go. A 50er. A 50er.
A 50 burger.
Oh, 5-0. Kyle, what Super Bowl did the Broncos win?
Super Bowl 50.
5-0. Let's go.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
You guys are on fire today.
You guys have been on fire the last few streams. So we appreciate it so very much. We'll say more nice things about the Giants for you, Bill.
God, I love the Giants.
God. They're
going
Giants.
to the Super Bowl.
I'm getting a hat. But yeah, man. The Jets right now are trying to figure out their offense. Yes, the weather affected both teams, but Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, it's against a tough Denver defense. You got to keep running the ball. If Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson are struggling, keep running the goddamn ball. Open up the pass a little bit. I don't know.
They did.
And then they missed that field goal at the end. They missed
That's
that
the thing.
field goal at the end.
They did run, and they ran and they ran and they ran, and they really stuck with it. And it just, the defense didn't let up.
Yeah.
And the other thing is,
4 yards for Breece Hall.
Wow. They had a chance to win the game at the end of the game. Sure. But so did Denver. And Denver missed their 45-yard field goal to go up 3.
But
no, they would have gone up 4.
But Denver had a touchdown.
They had a touchdown, yeah, but I'm saying the end of the game was weird because if you look at their percentage of victory, it went from Denver to 100 to 2 to 100 to 2 because it was it was so Denver they were attempting a field goal to go up by 4 with 2 minutes left, and then they also sacked Aaron Rodgers and he fumbled the ball and it got returned for a touchdown, but the ref blew the whistle. So there was 10 points off the board for Denver in the last minute of that game. And then it was of course the Jets have a chance to win this game. It was almost, you couldn't even fathom that the Jets had a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
And I say the ball doesn't lie because that was really a clear, obvious fumble. And the refs are really doing a terrible job this season. Little E with the 20 burger.
Orange for Broncos, just for Kyle O, and for DA Bears. The Bears. Let's go, Lily. You guys are crazy
awesome
today. You guys are fucking awesome. I love it. Regardless, Denver Broncos win.
Yes, Broncos win. The Jets will be fine. And just like the Bucs, everyone's panicking about the Jets. But last week it was the Jets are back. They're everything. And it's now all of a sudden people are oh, we were too early on all that talk. It's when are people going to be maybe the Broncos aren't such a bad team if all the good teams are losing to them? Whatever, dude. I love it because nobody's picking Denver. You have everybody picking against them, and it's actually working in our favor right now. So I kind of like this spot, including you, who we are 2-0 since you started picking the Jets and the Bucs. So you better not pick the Broncos over the Raiders this week because we haven't beaten them in a while. So just go with that. They'll get 9 in a row.
It's not me. It's the tattoo.
You're right. It is the tattoos. It's the tattoos for sure. All right. The Colts and the Steelers. Okay. Bad news for Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson had to leave with an injury, and it looks like he's not going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, but he's missing dump off passes to his running back.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of room to grow for him, and it's the Colts' fault for throwing him in so early and not giving him time to sit behind a veteran and learn how to be a quarterback. They just kind of threw him into the fire here. Now the Steelers were the favorite to win this game. I told you guys the Steelers are not good on the road as a favorite, and Joe Flacco is the one that came in, one of the league's best backups. And he came in and did enough. It wasn't magic by any means, but he did enough to get the win. There was a really good outing by who is the Colts receiver that was going off in this game?
Downs or Pittman?
Yeah, Josh Downs. Pittman had a good game too. And he only had 88 receiving yards over the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
and he had 113 yards on
Yep.
Sunday. So the Colts, even their mark, they're 2-2. They stay in the AFC South race, but I just don't know. I don't really know what they're going to do about Anthony Richardson. In the Steelers, Russell Wilson is now healthy, taking snaps, and it looks like the Steelers all of a sudden have a weird situation because Justin Fields is got a pretty solid record, 3-1, and Russell Wilson's healthy. But you kind of want to go with the hot hand, but Russell Wilson is gonna stand there so awkward if you don't play him. He's gonna be in his uniform with his helmet on,
With
like
eye black on,
yeah, eye black on, just like
practicing giving high fives in the huddle.
it's just gonna get weird quick.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Both these teams are giving me weird vibes right now.
I agree. And the Colts, God, Jinja, if you're still here, Anthony Richardson, what is going on? It started in the Bears game, really, where he started to show that these like throws that are so routine, dumping it off a 5-yard flat, dumping it off to the running back, it's just like they're not there. He's putting a little too much juice on it, obviously, right? Like he's throwing it over their heads. He's throwing it way too fast or way too low. Whatever the case is, he's just not making these routine throws. He gets injured. What was crazy was it's like, hey, he just got hurt. By the way, next play after he comes back from the sidelines, let's run it with him and let's get him injured again. It's like he injured his hip, went out for like a couple plays, came back, and they're like, quarterback run. You're like, what? Dude, protect your fucking quarterback, right? So it was weird. It sucks because, and Ginger's saying it's rough. So it sucks because going into this season, you're like, dude, last season, the 4 or 5 games that he played in, he was looking really good. He has an arm, potential. This year, he's played all 4 games, the 4th game for the most of it. But even games 3 and 4, weeks 3 and 4 have not looked good from him whatsoever. Joe Flacco comes in, looks a little bit better, throws for 2 touchdowns and 168 yards. Jonathan Taylor looks really good. Like, you have some guys on this team. It's almost like, okay, yes, if he's hurt, obviously Joe Flacco is going to play. Joe Flacco is going to stand there in the pocket and deliver these passes. But when Anthony Richardson is healthy, do we put him in? Because we have some guys, we have some potential here. Our defense is actually doing extremely well, even without DeForest Buckner and some of the main guys. So what the hell do you do? And like you said, the Steelers are like in a weird spot with Justin Fields is 3-1, and he still is looking good. He's throwing passing touchdowns. He's rushing for touchdowns. He's a dynamic quarterback. He's got the coaching. He's got the players around him. He's got the offensive coordinator, it seems like. What do you do when Russ is like fully healthy? Because Mike Tomlin is like, until Russ shows me a fully healthy week and can run an offense without any injury, without any like anything lingering, we're not going to make a decision on a quarterback. We're not, this isn't a Russ is our quarterback now, or just Justin until Russ shows me that he's good. The Steelers obviously have got, I would say, like, I don't want to say a good problem, because a good problem is like, man, which one of these star guys do I want to play? It's like, no, that's not the issue. It's, do you go with the hot hand, or do you go with a guy who last year was not looking like himself, you know, in his early season, who won a Super Bowl? And he's just so cringe. But the Steelers still have a very good defense. That's what they do. The Steelers do defense. And that's what's going to be like what keeps them in games. And Justin Fields, if he continues to be as good as he has been in these first 4 starts, now the offense is like, okay, now we can keep up with the defense. We can score some points. We can put some points on the board. We can get it going either through the arm of Justin or through his legs, kind of turn into a Lamar Jackson type, right? Like what we were saying about Justin Fields for a couple of years now is like, he could be a Lamar Jackson type. He could be a Michael Vick. He could run the ball. He could do this. And he's got some players around him. It's just the running game too needs to improve for the Steelers. But the defense and it seems like for now, at least, the quarterback is there.
Yeah. For now, we'll see. We'll see. All right. The Texans and the Jags played. you could say it's time to worry about Trevor Lawrence. He's lost his
Yeah.
last 9 starts dating back to last season.
Mhm.
He's looked mediocre at best this season, and he was paid a ton of money. Um, the Jags had so many opportunities to win this game. There was literally like 3 different moments where they could have
Yeah.
sealed the win. But they left that door open, something that bad teams do.
Mhm.
And the Texans are good enough to go through it. CJ Stroud threw 2 picks last week against the Vikings. This was a good rebound game for him. He had 345 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And that kind of leads Houston to this key divisional victory. If you're not going to say the stock's down on Trevor Lawrence, then it's got to be Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Because this is an offense with real talent. But when you watch the Jaguars, it appears that they're stuck. It might be time for Peterson to take control of the unit away from the offensive coordinator. It might be time to shuffle some personnel. I'm not sure what it is, but something needs to be done. They can't just last another week like this because we've seen this team go to the playoffs. We've seen them win a playoff game. We've seen Trevor Lawrence play better football. If we haven't learned anything, it's that quarterbacks and systems matter. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, these guys thrive in these other places. I'm not convinced Trevor Lawrence is the person that is you got to throw him away. Like he's the squeaky wheel that needs the grease. Like I'm sorry, I'm just not buying into that because then what happened when he was playing really good football, and why did he lose his confidence, and how did it happen? I'm just there's so much that I would have to buy into to really go down that road. I do think though if it's not, I'm not saying that he doesn't have, any dirt in his hands. When your team is this bad, there's a lot of dirty hands on the team. But I am saying that it's definitely something that's beyond Trevor Lawrence, and it's Doug Peterson's job as the head coach to figure out what it is and make those changes.
Yeah, and Doug Peterson, when asked about like if he's worried about his job status, he's like, "My status? I mean, no, that's kind of a strange question, but okay." It's like, dude, I would start worrying. I would really start worrying. Last season, this is the 4th start out of 9 starts that Trevor Lawrence has lost. 5 of those, clearly he was injured last season. We've talked about that, but it just continues throughout this season in 2024, which makes it just look really, really bad. They had more than enough chances to win this game, like you said. I mean, they were down at the 2, and on 4th down, they went for it. It was like 4th and goal with like at the 1 or at the 1.5 yard line.
Yeah, they got stuffed. Trevor Lawrence, QB sneak.
Trevor Lawrence, yeah, they got stuffed. Yeah, and again, they had plenty of time. They had plenty of chances to win this. I mean, Stroud and the Texans in the second half punted 5 straight possessions, and then finally, with 18 seconds left, get it to Dare Ogunbowale, who hasn't scored a touchdown since 2022, almost 2 seasons now. Finally gets in the end zone. The Texans are able to come back and win. The Texans have struggled this season on offense to look similar to what they did last year. But god damn, 2 minutes left, 4th quarter. Yeah, I want CJ Stroud and this Texans offense to be like the offense that I want going down the field to win a game, because they did it really well, man. And it's these moments, these clutch moments that a lot of people, always talk about, like Tom Brady, 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm going Tom Brady, obviously in his time with the Patriots, with the Bucks, or in just his career in general. It's like, these are the moments where the quarterback is made and they can show where they're at. And CJ Stroud showed where he's at. He is a guy who can go down the field in 2 minutes and score the game winning touchdown for you. And again, they've been struggling this season, but they came out with the win. 435 total yards of offense. CJ Stroud was 90% of that, 80% of that with 345 yards and 2 touchdowns. This offense looks to be getting a little bit better, even against a tough division opponent in the Jaguars. They were down for 3 quarters, fucking 14 minutes and 42 seconds before they finally were able to win that game. So good on the Texans to finally, I felt like this was kind of a get right game, really more of a get right 2 minutes in that fourth quarter. Cause now it's like, okay, now the Texans have got their kind of groove back. It seems like, and they're still 3-1, but they just don't feel like a 3-1 team because of their struggles on offense. But 3-1 is 3-1. They're leading right now. AFC South. They're the leaders.
Yep. And we'll see if Jacksonville can rebound, because
It's gonna be tough.
it's only 4. It's only 4, right? It's not. I mean, it's a lot tougher when it's 6 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we even saw the Bengals a couple years ago go from 1-4 to the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But if the being down 27-0 at halftime is any inclination of what Trevor Lawrence needs to be able to start playing good football, maybe 0-4 is a good thing. Raiders and Browns. All right. The Raiders they've been one of the most unpredictable teams to try to gauge week in and week out. They were without Devontae Adams and Max Crosby after losing last week to the 1-win Panthers. They were able to handle Cleveland at home for the Browns. It was another bad day for a ton of reasons, including Deshaun Watson. Bad protection for him. Big drops. There was even a play that would have won the game to Amari Cooper. It was like an 80-yard touchdown, but there was holding. Just mistakes. Just Browns seem like they're back to the Browns we grew up with. The AFC North being really tough. I just don't think Cleveland has any room for error moving forward. But Jayden Daniels and the Commanders are next up for the Browns. And suddenly that's a really tough matchup for any team. Myles Garrett's been dealing with a foot injury all week. It's just not the year for the Browns. No. I think that's pretty obvious. But when they have as much talent as they do, it's really kind of bold to say that, even though they're, 1-3. Yeah, they still have. I mean, if let's say they win the next 3 in a row, all of a sudden everything changes with how you feel about the Browns. True. And you go back to feeling like the Browns of last year. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that. Minshew was 14 for 24, 130 yards. The ground game is really what won this game for the Raiders, 152 yards on the ground, 5 yards per carry too, pretty impressive. But overall, this was a game that nobody watched, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, this isn't a game that, unless you're a Raiders or Browns fan, nobody else watched this. What's funny about this is Deshaun Watson actually had a decent game, 24 for 30, 276 yards and a touchdown. It's just, it felt like everybody else kind of let him down a bit, at least from what I saw. On the Raiders side, after losing to the Panthers, Antonio Pierce had that now kind of famous, like, there were some players that made business decisions. Now we're going to make some business decisions, right? And then this kind of started the whole, like, Devontae Adams trade talks now. He didn't play that game, neither did Max Crosby, but now you're starting to see the wheels turn in terms of, like, where's Devontae going? Because he's not staying on the fucking Raiders, that's for sure. Talking about not talking to Antonio Pierce, the head coach, about certain things. Like, the communication just seems a little bit fuzzy there for right now. The Vegas Raiders had the same amount of people catch a pass, or I'm sorry, get targeted for a pass as players rushing. 7 players rushed the ball. 7 players were targeted with a pass. I don't know what the hell that means, but Zamir White and Alexander Mattison had really good rushing games, but to have 7 people attempt a rush, 7 people attempt a catch, that just kind of tells you that the whole offense right now is discombobulated. And guess who's their offensive coordinator, Kyle?
For the Raiders,
Yep.
I know this. It's the old head coach
Nope, not the old head coach.
for
He
the
was the
Panthers.
Bears offensive coordinator.
Oh,
Luke
Getsy?
Luke Getsy. Talk
Yeah.
about a fuck you. Talk about is this the guy for offensive coordinator? No, he never has been. What is the identity for the Raiders? It's seems like, no nonsense type of shit from Antonio Pierce. And that's it. That's all it is. It's like, we're Raiders, we're tough player. That's it. Like, there's nothing on the offense there that is considered an identity right now. They rush the ball really well, and they've got some players on the offense that can catch passes. But with Luke Getsy as your offensive coordinator, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's coming from a Bears fan. So, the Browns did look like they were going to come away with this win. The Raiders obviously came away with this win, and that was that they were scoreless the first and fourth quarter. So credit to their defense for kind of holding strong there in the fourth quarter. But I don't know, both these teams look like they're going to suck for the rest of the year, and they've got plenty of questions.
The 49ers pretty much had a practice game against the Patriots. San Francisco is starting to get healthy. They're still not healthy. They still have some key players that are out, but this was the kind of game that they were able to win without. Fred Warner, just probably the best player on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Him and Nick Bosa. He got a pick six. He took it 45 yards in the second quarter. They got out to a 13-0 lead, and that was pretty much it. The only question is when Drake May is going to start. Will he start the next game, or is Jacoby Brissett going to hold on to the job? But
yeah,
for the 49ers, didn't learn anything new. When they're fully healthy, they're one of the best teams in the league. Not sure what's going on with Brandon Ayuk. A lot of people are still waiting for him to have that big performance, but it's been Greg Jennings who's been going off. And
Juwan
it's
Jennings?
past week 4, Juwan Jennings, sorry. And now they have Ricky Pearsall, who was on the PUP list, who I don't know when. I'm not tracking his return, but that could be around the corner. So the 49ers are good enough where they can start 2-2 and go to the Super Bowl. They just are. So the vibes are not right, but this is the kind of win that makes you forget about their problems.
Yeah, and CMC going to Germany to get a second or third or fourth opinion, whatever it is now, on his knee. That just doesn't seem like a good outlook for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
This is like the 49ers. This is the way they were playing before CMC got there.
Yes, because Jordan Mason, for the most part, is an absolute monster. 123 yards rushing, and a score, I believe. Yes, he did get a touchdown. Like, he is an absolute monster. And Brock Purdy, pretty much, I don't want to say game managing, but in regards to the San Francisco 49ers offense, it seems like he's managing the game really well. I mean, he had a score. He did have an interception, but he had almost 300 yards, 288 on the day. Fred Warner's an absolute monster, like you said. Honestly, like week 2, I forget what primetime game they had, but they had a primetime game like week 2 or something. I was like, Fred Warner is a fucking beast. Like, this guy should be in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year, because that's how good he was doing so far. I know he got injured, I think, after that week 2 game in week 3, but regardless, like, he is all over the field for a linebacker. He is doing extremely, extremely well. So I think he should be in consideration. Obviously, there's a lot to do with TJ Watt and other defensive guys in the league, but I think he should definitely be in consideration. The New England Patriots tried to run the ball. 13 attempts for Stevenson, 43 yards. Jacoby Brissett threw a touchdown, but he had 168 yards on 32 attempts. Their leading receiver was Antonio Gibson, a running back. for 67 yards. And I'm not going to talk shit because DeAndre Swift, a running back for the Bears, was leading the receiver as well. But it's clearly a rebuilding season in New England. I don't think anybody really kind of had any doubts about that. I mean, they did win a game. I think it was week 1. So there was like some potential. It's like, oh shit, can we actually do it with Jacoby Brissett? No, you can't do it with Jacoby Brissett. It's not there. So they're going to be struggling. But like you said, it was kind of like, okay, let's get the wheels turning again. 2 wins in a row for the 49ers.
All right. The next game is the best quarterback out of this rookie class, Jayden Daniels. 42-14.
So good.
Yeah, he's the real deal. 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. If he continues to play like this, Washington is one of the more intriguing teams in the NFC, and not even the NFC East.
Yeah.
The Commanders all of a sudden look really difficult. They easily handled Arizona on the road despite a short week. After people might have thought, oh, the Commanders are inflated because of their win on Monday night. No, they're just good now. Brian Robinson was uneven through the first 3 weeks. He had a really good day in Arizona. He had 101 yards on 21 carries. So they're running the football well. They're passing the football well. They're playing good enough defensively, holding the Cardinals to only 14 points. The Cardinals need more from Michael Wilson, the second-year receiver. He caught 11 passes for 100 yards through 3 weeks now, and he only produced 3 catches in this game. They're force-feeding Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. It's a little bit obvious at this point, kind of like the Giants have Malik Neighbors, and it's like, okay, that's going to be the game plan. But Wan'Dale Robinson, like I predicted, I was like, Wan'Dale Robinson is going to have a big game. Wan'Dale Robinson is benefiting. Where is Michael Wilson benefiting from Marvin Harrison Jr.? It's not happening yet, and it should be. But the Commanders are immediately like one of the tougher teams in the NFC with Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, it's they're 3-1, and if you would have told me preseason that a rookie head coach, Dan Quinn, not rookie head coach, first-year head coach with the Commanders, rookie quarterback, a offensive line that last year looked like shit, and a defense that has been stripped of mostly its superstars, we're going to be in first place in the NFC East after week 4, I would have laughed at you. I would have openly laughed at you, taken a bat, beat the absolute dog shit out of you, and been like, don't ever say dumb shit like that again. Yes, that's exactly what I would have done. Right, Kyle?
Right. Yeah, totally.
That's what any sane person who watches the NFL would have done, okay? But no, man, the Washington Commanders are doing extremely well. Jayden Daniels is absolutely fucking killing it in his rookie season. 81% completion percentage right now. What has he got? Like 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. He's got 3-4 rushing touchdowns. Like, he is a dynamic quarterback. He is doing everything in his power to make his rookie season one to remember.
It looks like Cliff Kingsbury is going to get another chance at head coach.
Yes, 100%. He is making this offense look really good with a rookie signal caller. The defense for the Commanders, surprisingly, again, we talked about how last year they got rid of Montez Sweat. Yes, they have, Darren Payne there after they signed him in one of the off seasons prior to the last year. So he's kind of like their star there on the defense, but they've looked a lot better. Their offensive line has looked better. It's improved. This team as a whole has just improved fully from last season. So it's been looking really good for Jayden Daniels and this entire Commanders team. The Arizona Cardinals, a lot of firepower on the offense. James Conner ran for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Like you said, they're force-feeding Marvin Harrison, but because Greg Dortch and Wilson just not doing it, not cutting it, they have Marvin Harrison, and that's it. 45 yards and a touchdown for Marvin Harrison. And Kyler Murray, not a great game, but I mean, the defense for the Washington Commanders is doing work right now. And Lily with another fiver.
Let's
You know who's
go.
better as a QB, Rick? Malik Willis is better than Jordan Love. People are asking the question, Kyle. So I love it, Lily. Thank you. But yeah, the Commanders looking really good. 3-1 right now. I got to look at the rest of their schedule. It doesn't look like they're going to lose a lot of games this year. They might be the fucking Texans of last year. They might be the Texans.
They are the
talented.
Texans.
They're not as talented, I would say.
That's
But
what they said about the Texans.
No, they were good. They were Derek Stingley Jr., Nico Collins, like
No,
bringing in CJ Stroud was good.
PFF ranked their roster before the season started as the worst talent roster in the league. It was like Nico Collins, Tank Dell, nobody's. Nobody knew it. Dalton Schultz was like the old guy that wants one more one more try.
He was coming in from Dallas, yeah.
Damian Pierce was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud was he did, but then he got hurt. So it was like, how is he going to come back from his injury?
Yeah.
Then you have CJ Stroud, who was like the second quarterback taken. No, their over under was 5 wins.
So does that say more about the Texans? Like the Texans succeeded well above expectations, because a lot of people, again, I'm not disagreeing with you. The absolute like impression on the Texans last year was rebuild. But does that say more about PFF kind of getting it wrong? I feel like PFF's kind of sometimes.
No, of course. But that's the way the NFL works, is like they said the same thing about the Broncos on defense. They're like, their defense sucks because they don't know any of the names. And it's like, well, just because you don't know the names doesn't mean they're good. And that's the old, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, do you know the names because they're good, or are they good because you know their names? Right. So like, of course you don't know their names until they give you a reason to know their names. And that's what Nico Collins and Tank Dell did during the season. But to kick off that season, to say Nico Collins and Tank Dell were different. No, they were always the same player. They just weren't able to have their talents unlocked by a quarterback because they didn't have one. So that's kind of what you're seeing right now, you know, with the Commanders, is like now they have a quarterback that's able to unlock the talent that's already on the team. And now all of a sudden these guys that you thought were, 2 stars are actually 4 stars, and some 3 stars or 5 stars, and some 1s or 3s. And all of a sudden, because once you're winning, and the team's playing collectively, it's just like if you have a good pass rush, the quarterback has to throw the ball really quick, and all of a sudden your corner gets 4 interceptions, and it's like now your corner's better. And if you have good coverage, the quarterback doesn't know where to go with the ball, time's running out, and he gets sacked. So now you have coverage sacks. So now your pass rushers are graded higher. It's like when the team collectively is playing together as one unit, everybody's better. And even players that you didn't know were good all of a sudden become good, like Green Bay's defense.
Yeah, true. I just it just seemed like Terry McLaurin had already been given his deal, so it's like while we didn't really know Nico Collins or Tank Dell, I don't know. It just seems like yeah, I don't know. But they could be the Texans.
What's your argument? That they're not the same as the Texans, or what? I mean, it's very similar. 2 bad teams that got a quarterback, and they were both the second quarterback.
So there are some differences because DeMeco Ryans, rookie head coach.
Dan Quinn, head coach.
Quinn, not a rookie head coach, has been a head coach before.
Right, but his first year with the
Commanders, different organization, I agree.
Yeah.
He's a defensive guy, so defensive guys are going to get the most out of their defense regardless of players.
So it's
just kind of what you're seeing with McDonald, and DeMeco Ryans got a lot out of his players last season, and including the 2 first-round picks that they had, like 2 first-round talents on each side of the ball, like great value, and they were able to do really well. I guess there's just like some differences. Terry McLaurin versus Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Like Terry McLaurin, again, already had his deal and was already a pretty solid wide receiver one on the team versus Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who weren't necessarily known. It's just that with CJ Stroud and with fucking the offensive coordinator for the Texans, it's like they were so there's like some definite some differences there. Rookie quarterback is the same though.
It's oddly similar.
It's oddly similar with some differences. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it's not going to be exactly the same. I mean, they're different teams, but even the second quarterback, the new head coach, but what these two teams have in common is that they didn't have any expectations going into the year, and they drafted two quarterbacks, and they were able to insert an entirely new culture faster than anybody could have expected. Yeah. That's the big similarity. And 100%. Both guys picked the second quarterback. Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. So
wait, chill.
You're like, oh, I didn't like that sentence.
I don't like those two names there being next to each other.
I think you're good. Okay, the Vikings and the Packers. Vikings are 4-0. They're definitely for real. The Packers got out to the Vikings got out to a 28-0 lead. Yeah. They were able to hold on, but Green Bay started playing really good in the second half. The fourth quarter, Jordan Love almost came back into this game. They had a chance, but they did enough to secure the win. The final score is 29-31, which is, it's one of those games where if you're a Viking fan, you wanted the game to end at halftime. And if you're a Packers fan, you wanted a fifth quarter. But the Vikings are definitely for real. They're not like a fluke. They're 4-0. And for the Packers, I think they'll be just fine. So the NFC North is the most competitive division in football for sure.
Jordan Love 0-2, Malik Willis 2-0.
People are asking the question.
Malik Willis is better than Jordan Love. Lily said it, dude. Lily has the pulse of the NFL. He has the pulse of the NFL.
Jordan Love's going to get traded to the Broncos. And we're going to send Bo Nix
to
the Bears.
Crazy.
And Caleb Williams is going to end up going to the Chargers. And Justin Herbert's going to go to Seattle. What if there was like a 5-way trade overnight and there was like 5 new franchise quarterbacks? And we're like, wait, what?
The Packers are like, yeah, we'll ship Jordan Love. Bears are like, yeah, we'll ship Caleb Williams. Fucking everyone's like, yeah, we'll
get a domino effect, all because the Packers thought Malik Willis was better than Jordan Love.
Oh man, no, the Green Bay Packers, great fourth quarter. Vikings are for real, man. 28 points in the first half. Sam Darnold looks fine in this offense. Aaron Jones looks like a fucking monster. He outran Josh Jacobs. Looking good. Jordan Love, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He wore a Brett Favre jersey to this game. And 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions is the first time a Packers quarterback does that since who? Brett Favre. So just kind of bringing the vibes back with Brett Favre. So I love it. Love to see that. That was a crazy game. This is one of the reasons, guys, that I'm saying, like, I wish more teams would understand to step on their opponent's neck and just continue the scoring, because the Packers almost came back. The Packers have a Jordan Love, a quarterback that is capable of doing something like this, which is come back on the defense. More teams need to learn to just fucking keep driving the ball, getting touchdowns, what have you, right? Like, they just need to continue to keep their foot on the gas. And unfortunately, the Vikings didn't do that. They only scored 3 points in the second half. What does that mean? I don't know. Like, if the game is close, unlike this game against the Packers, going forward, like, does the offense change? Obviously, clearly the offense changed in the second half because they only scored 3 points, vice 28 in the first. I don't know. They need to learn to do that. The Packers defense kind of let up in the first half. In the second half, they came back much better. But yeah, I don't really have too much on this game. I didn't watch too much. The Vikings are for real, like Kyle said, 4-0 with Sam Darnold as their quarterback, getting touchdowns. What's that? Yeah, Bill. Yeah, you and I both. Some weeks. But the Vikings are for real with O'Connell, with Sam Darnold. This is going to be one of those issues down the road during the season where I think Kyle and I had talked about it during the offseason where we were like, what happens? JJ McCarthy got injured. But if Sam Darnold continues to produce the way he has produced, he's going to want something similar to one of the top, I don't want to say top paid quarterbacks, not a Jordan Love, not a Joe Burrow, not a Josh Allen, not like that, but something along the lines of like what Geno Smith got, what Baker Mayfield got, something along the $100 million range for the next few seasons. So, yeah, that's going to be an issue for the Vikings. And it's like, well, do we give our Sam Darnold guy this much money and have JJ McCarthy just kind of ride the bench for the next 3 years? Or do we give Sam Darnold another 1 year deal, which I doubt he'll want, or just let him walk in free agency and go with JJ McCarthy? Because again, if they continue this route, it's going to be a difficult decision.
I predicted this issue, by the way.
Exactly, in the preseason. Yep.
I had the foresight to know that there was going to be some tough decisions made after this year.
Yeah.
Okay. The Chiefs and the Chargers. The Chiefs are unbeaten, but like I said, not all is well. The Chiefs have flaws. They're just not a good team, man. I watch them every single week, and the Chargers are out there with a depleted team. They don't have their offensive tackles. They don't have their weapons. Slater. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs still like barely get the win in this game. They lose Rashee Rice to an apparent knee injury. Mm-hmm. Mahomes finished with 245 yards, but he threw another bad interception and bailed out of clean pockets all game for some reason. I actually watched this game, and for the Chargers, I thought that they fought really hard, exactly what I expected. But you also have Herbert on one leg out there. It's just the Chiefs, like I predicted this. The Chiefs are going to win, and it's going to be stupid because they're going to show that they're beatable in the process of winning. They're just not a 4-0 team. Like, they have the record, but if you actually look at the demeanor of the players, they don't feel 4-0, and it's for a good reason. It's because they know that it's taken a lot of things to go their way for them to be 4-0, and ultimately, your record doesn't matter. The Chiefs are in it for one reason. It's to win a Super Bowl. So they can be 4-0 all they want, but Mahomes isn't going to smile if he feels like this team isn't going to win a playoff game. And I don't know if right now he has that same confidence in his team, because you can tell that this team is acting like they're 1-3 when you actually listen to them talk about the games in the press conferences, the post game. They're going to have to make a trade. I think this is the most likely spot for Davante Adams.
Ooh, interdivision trading. Hate to see it. The Chiefs have a damn good defense, though. I mean, yes, they're middle of the pack with yards per game, but 224 yards to the Chargers, I feel like you're going to win a lot of games that way. Like, keeping your opponent under 300 total yards of offense. I mean, maybe not the Ravens. Maybe if they go up against the Ravens this season, it's going to be a different story, but the defense for the Chiefs is looking good. And this is the same story we were talking about the Chiefs last year. It's like, oh, this team doesn't look good. Travis Kelce's struggling early in the season. Where is he at?
They're worse, though.
They're worse. Rashee Rice is out. Isaiah Pacheco was out after week 2.
Travis Kelce was still like really good last year.
But he was still struggling. Like, this offense was still struggling in the beginning of last year. And that's what's going on right now as well. It's just, there's more. It's just, again, Travis Kelce looks like not himself. Even though he was the leading receiver in this game with 89 yards, Xavier Worthy is kind of providing that spark, but he's a big play guy. He's not your Rashee Rice. He's not your Tyreek Hill, and he's really not your Travis Kelce, who's going to be there for those passes. On the other side, the LA Chargers, yeah, it was a rough game. It was a rough game for Herbert. It was a rough game for the running game. 32 yards leading for J.K. Dobbins. But Ladd McConkey got a touchdown, which was nice. But overall, they just didn't have enough. It just didn't seem like they had enough. The Chiefs, again, come out with the win on top. The defense held the Chargers scoreless for the last three quarters. I think that's what you need right there. I mean, you do that, you're going to win most games.
The Panthers had 45 more total yards last week than the Chiefs.
Isn't that crazy? Like, how?
I don't know.
But yeah, you get the wins.
The Packers had 465 yards of offense on Sunday.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I was saying,
that's why
teams pedal to the metal, keep fucking scoring. The Vikings got held to 3 points in the second half. The Chargers got held to 0 points in the last three quarters.
Like, the defense stood up. They're trying. It's not like they come together and they're like, let's get conservative. That does happen.
It does, yeah.
But when the Packers are coming back, like, obviously it's like, okay, we've abandoned that game plan. We're trying to get back to the scoring, but we can't. Like, that was definitely happening. But I think, like, the Seattle, like, there's two teams that I think lost on Sunday that I don't feel differently, or I feel better: Seattle and Green Bay. And it's because they led the NFL last week in offense. Seattle had 516 yards of offense. Green Bay had 465. So yeah, they both lost and it sucks. But it's like, okay, well, if they can have that much offense, I think they're going to win most of their games. Ultimately, half of 1,000 yards of offense in one game is probably going to win you most of your games.
Well, not if your defense is giving up just as many yards and more points.
Yeah, but they're not. That's my point. Like, Seattle didn't give up more yards than that. Green Bay didn't give up. Like, Minnesota, they had 374 yards of offense. Green Bay had 100 more yards of offense than them, and they still lost the game because of, not getting off to a good start. But I just don't see them getting in a 28-point hole every single week. That's my point.
No, definitely not. But also, like, you got to look at the defenses and what happens, right? Like, you got to play 4 quarters. Is it hard? Absolutely. It's hard to win in the NFL in general, right? But
yeah. And overall, their defense has been good. So it's like...
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, but Seattle too. Like, Seattle's defense has been good. They're like very similar right now. But yeah, what game are we on?
I think we're done with all the recap because we talked about the Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football afterwards.
We did it.
That was our recap. Yeah, we did it.
We did it, baby. I hope you guys enjoyed our recap. Me and Rick got in 5 fights.
My God, we did. I didn't even know I was in that one.
Yeah, you were. You were 7 fights.
Such a silly goose.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your favorite segment. Rick?
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Top 5, Kyle. Top 5.
All right. I feel really good about my top 5 this week.
No, you don't.
You're right.
Kyle, hold on. I gotta make sure I write all these down because Kyle likes to change it up at the last second. All right, Kyle, you go first in these. Who do you have at numero 5?
All right. At number 5. I got the New York Jets. I
Ew.
I had the Jets at number 1 last week. They went against a really good defense, and it was raining. And this is the thing with the NFL is people get overly caught up in 1 week. And by the way, you're actually allowed to have a bad week. Every Super Bowl winner had a bad week,
True.
besides Tom Brady in that 1 year that he didn't win the Super Bowl because they lost anyway. So that's doesn't matter. That was their bad week right there. So, yeah, the Jets had a bad week. The week before, everybody was like, the Jets are back. Rodgers at MVP level. We're going to throw all of it away because of 1 week. Like, that's just nonsense. It's a long season. I'll have the Jets at 5 for now.
All right. He's got Jets 5. I don't hate it. For me, my number 5 team. Kyle, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
It's going to be the Bucks. I've got the Bucks at number 5. They are doing really well. They're doing really well, right?
You beat a top 5 team.
They did. They beat a top 5 team. The Tampa Bay Bucks, 3-1. They're Baker Mayfield is doing extremely well. As Kyle's doing disgusting things. Disgusting. Yeah, and they still got my So I'm going Bucks at number 5. Kyle, you got number 4.
At number 4. I got the Denver Broncos. The
You're
Denver Broncos.
Crazy.
All right, number 4.
Oh
they
my
have
god.
beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and beaten the New York Jets on the road in back-to-back weeks while only giving up less than 300 yards in both games, making Baker Mayfield look like he forgot what it was like to play quarterback, making Aaron Rodgers look like he was washed, making people hate both of those teams, making their fan bases crumble. That was my team that did that. Now they're coming home to put their throwback uniforms on for the first time since 1977. And we're going to go out and we're going to beat the Raiders in them and have a winning record after this week. And Bo Nix is going to throw for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. And we're going to run the football. We're running the football. We're playing good defense. There's nothing not to like about this team. We're beating the best teams in the NFL right now.
That's disgusting. I love the Broncos, but that's disgusting. Number 4 for me.
Hey, if you beat those teams, it would be different. But you beat the Rams. Just wait until you beat. Wait till you beat the Chiefs, and then the next week you beat the Bills. So you're gonna have them in there.
We basically beat the Texans. No, I'm just kidding. At number 4 for me. They put up a shit ton of yards. They look like a Super Bowl contender. They have been for the last couple of years. The Baltimore Ravens are my number 4 team. They're a 2-2 team who should be a 3-1 team. I know that's not a huge stretch, but they're a 2-2 team with just doing a lot on their side of the ball. Lamar Jackson.
You said they should be a 3-1 team. Who's the one loss that you think they should have?
They should have beaten the Chiefs in week 1.
No, the one loss that they should have, because you said they should be 3-1. What's the one loss?
I'm thinking who was
the Raiders.
there?
So you're saying they still deserve that loss?
Oh God, you're right.
So if we beat the Raiders, then we beat the team that beat the Ravens, the Jets, and the Bucks. Then you got to put them in your top 5.
This is me. This is what coping sounds like. This is what I did on Monday. This is what coping sounds like. Well, we beat the Rams. We beat the 49ers. So we're better than the 49ers. The Ravens look good. And they're not going to lose to the Raiders again. They're not going to lose to the Raiders again. They're on their way to the playoffs. Ravens at 4.
Ravens at 4. Let a naysayer know. All right. At number 3, I got the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, God.
Bills. Yeah, this is another overreaction. The Bills looked great this year. They went into Baltimore. They went into a hostile environment. The Ravens ran the ball really well. The Bills are still going to be really good. Josh Allen's still the MVP of the NFL this year. Everybody needs to pump the brakes. A lot of overreactions this week. Buffalo is still the third best team in the NFL.
Okay. All right. Bills. Got the Bills. For me, the number 3 team is the team who had the most entertaining game as well as the win on Monday Night Football. I have got the Detroit Lions at number 3. They're still putting teams away. Their defense was able to get takeaways, was able to stop that high-powered offense of Seattle, and especially Geno Smith, who's having an incredible year so far. I think leading the league, or one of the top 3 in the league in passing yards. So I've got the Lions. I like their offense, but I'm liking their defense a little bit more, especially after Monday Night Football. I got the Lions at 3.
All right, at number 2, I got the Lions. Lions are really good. They got the 2 best running backs, great head coach. Jared Goff had a perfect game. I just got over that because remember I needed 2 touchdown passes and Amon-Ra St. Brown to have 35 more yards.
Oh, yeah.
He had the touchdown pass at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You remember that.
It
went to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then on right before the 2-minute warning, they had a free play. So they put Amon-Ra St. Brown in the middle of the field, and Goff takes a safety. If he releases that ball,
Yeah.
I felt sick at that moment.
I agree.
And that's why the Lions are at 2. Because no, honestly, they're at 2 because they let Seattle score way too much. It's an issue. I'm worried about the defense. Terrion Arnold, his go-to is to hold.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the defense is going to need to
flags.
be a little bit better for me to move them to the number 1 spot.
Okay. At number 2, Kyle's going to hate it. Anybody in the AFC West is going to hate it. Anybody who hates dynasties is going to hate it. I've got the Chiefs at number 2. Not a convincing win. Not a convincing first few weeks in the NFL, which we talked about with the offense kind of struggling. The whole team kind of struggling. The defense is still being very, very consistent, stopping plays when they need to, holding teams like the Chargers scoreless for the last 3 quarters of games. Like, they are very consistent, and they're killing it right now. That's why I've got the Chiefs at number 2.
All right. At number 1.
Broncos again.
I got the Ravens. I'm not happy about it, but I got to put the Ravens here after that last win. They had some really tough losses, but the fact of the matter is their defense shut down the Bills. They're flying around. The way they use Kyle Hamilton, the way that that defense is playing. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have finally figured out how to coexist in a way where none of them are lesser versions of themselves, which is extremely impressive. And we didn't even see Zay Flowers, break out. They didn't need to because they ran the football so well. So we got a little taste of what the Ravens post Derrick Henry signing can look like. I absolutely hate that the Ravens are at number 1. But to me, you look through the league right now, you see a lot of teams that are flaky, right? A lot of teams that are supposed to be really good, like the 49ers and the Chiefs and even the Bills coming off that loss. It's like a lot of teams that you want to put higher, like Green Bay, but that 28 points is 28 points. But right now, the Ravens, to me, feel like the safest team because even though they've lost games, they haven't lost them to bad teams, and they haven't lost in the manner that they beat Buffalo.
And they haven't lost themselves. Sorry, I try to make that very,
no,
very
that's
dramatic.
good. No, that's good.
No.
They haven't. That's a good.
That in.
Yeah,
keep
let's
that
keep that. Hey, don't cut that, Eddie. Don't cut that.
Eddie.
Sorry, I was talking to my director.
That's such a director name, too. That's such a producer, sound engineer name. Hey, Eddie, no, keep that. My number 1 team.
I'm manifesting that for us.
Hey, Eddie, no, keep that in. I hate to say it. I fucking hate to say it. It's the Vikings. The Vikings are doing extremely well with Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones. Their defense is looking really good. Obviously, the fourth quarter against the Packers, not so good, but the 3 quarters prior to that, you can't ignore.
Yeah, they're
They almost-
23rd in yards per game. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's good. They're also 4-0. So you can't ignore that at all. One bit is they're blitzing, they're getting to the quarterback, they're making them uncomfortable. They're coming out with wins mostly because of their offense. It's gonna be the Vikings are gonna be tough, man. The Vikings are gonna be a tough play for anyone at this point in the season. Sam Darnold, stay healthy, keep playing the way you are. Vikings are gonna win the NFC North, it looks like.
Oh my God. Why can't they just be impressive and good without the overreaction part?
Because that's not fun.
The Vikings are not going to win the NFC North.
Oh, are you kidding me?
October 2nd.
0-2 with
PM
Jordan
Central.
Love, 2-0 with Malik Willis. Green Bay's not going to win it unless they get better.
I didn't say Green Bay was going to win it.
Well, the Lions too. The Lions are a very good team. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they're
the
definitely
Vikings are-
better than the Vikings.
4-0, baby. 4-0.
No, I get that, but there's got to be more to this than that. We can't put.
I'm just saying, if they keep playing the way they're playing, they can win the NFC North. That's all I'm saying. They're on pace for a 17-0 season.
Well, you know what? They actually are, which is fucked up because because they're going to beat the Colts, they're going to beat the Jags, they're going to beat the Titans, they're going to beat the Bears, they're going to beat the Cardinals, they're going to beat the Falcons, they're going to beat the
Bears are
Bears.
giving them their loss.
Look at their okay, so the Bears are going to, for the sake of argument, we'll just skip that part for
15-2, 15-2.
But you look at this record, this schedule, and you go Colts, Jags, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Bears.
Right.
It's not until December 22nd that they play Seattle, and that's in Minnesota. Then they play the Packers on December 29th, and then Detroit, and the season's over.
Yeah.
So, maybe due to strength of schedule, they could, but I don't know, man. The NFL is a weird place. We'll start with we'll start by seeing if they can beat Indy next week. Indy just beat an undefeated team. Maybe they can knock another one off in back-to-back weeks.
Because you got the Ravens, who have the best run game in the NFL and a high-powered offense, who are 2-2, and you got the Vikings, who are 4-0, and it's like one of these has to flip. You know what I mean?
Say that again.
Like, you have the Ravens, who are 2-2 with such a high-powered offense, getting so many yards, and then you got the Vikings, who are 4-0, who are starting off amazing, but it's like, there's no way these two teams are the same. Like, there's no way, right?
No.
Like, the Ravens are easily a much better team than the Vikings, and yet the Vikings are 4-0. The Ravens are 2-2, coming off 2 really good, impressive wins. But it's just
look at the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's why I say we can't just do record, because the Chiefs are 4-0 and the Ravens are 2-2.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if they play tomorrow, who are you going with? No brainer. No one's
It's
taking the
Ravens.
Chiefs besides Chiefs fans. Maybe if the game's in Arrowhead, it would be, Chiefs -3, but I would expect the Ravens to win that game. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the record is I think it's very useful because it shows that you're able to win. But remember that year, I think weirdly enough, it was the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell where they had 11 wins, but they had a negative point differential in the season, which was like the first time in history a team had double-digit wins and a negative point differential, which is mind-blowing to think how.
First time.
Yeah. So the record sometimes looks a certain way, but it's like when you go into the stats and you look at a team, you're like, well, they just had a lot of things go their way. I'm not even talking about the Vikings right now. I'm talking about the Chiefs in this scenario, but the record is sometimes very misleading. I'll just say that.
Absolutely.
Like the Steelers was.
But also on the other hand, stats as well. Stats can definitely be misleading. Like what was the one we talked about where it was like, oh, this team has does a great job stopping teams in the red zone, but it's like they've got the least amount of time on the defense in the red zone, right? Like the Ravens probably
They
were
don't
one of
get
those.
there.
They don't get
Yeah.
there. Exactly. It's like they have 50-yard bombs or they have 70-yard runs or they have this. They're like, yeah, they have the least percentage in the red zone because they've been in the red zone 10 times in a
That's why-
17-game season.
That's why for defense, I like yards per game. How much yards are you giving up per game? And right now,
Yeah.
because that's like running and passing. And for Minnesota right now, they're ranked. Where the hell are they? Here they are. No, they're 10th. No, that's offensively. They're 10th. So they're
Minnesota's
top,
23rd.
yeah, in defense, but on offense they're 10th. So defensively they're 23rd. So you look at those two stats, which aren't misleading, and you're like, so what are they great at? Because like you take Baltimore, and it's like they're number 1 in yards per game. So it's like, okay,
What?
there's something here that they're really good at.
Opponent's yard per game number 1 is Tennessee.
No. Offensively, the Ravens are
offensively.
number 1.
But this is what I'm saying. Like the stats, the number 1 defense in terms of yards per game are Tennessee, then the Jets, and then Denver.
Yeah, but those are really good defenses right now.
Right, but what's
And
the
the
record?
Steelers.
The Titans are defeated. Or no, they have one win, right? Do they have one win?
No, they're 0 for 4.
Are
Yeah,
they 0 for 4?
because but that's the thing. It's because if you look at their total offense, Tennessee is 29th. So you have to look at them together. They're a sandwich. It's a sandwich of information. So like they are 29.
Tennessee does have a win.
Right. Like you would say Denver's not a great team right now. And Tennessee and Denver are both 27th or worse in yards per game. But Baltimore is 13th in defensive yards allowed per game, but they're first in offensive yards per game. So I think the kicker is they both have to be like ideally both are in the top 10. I remember last year San Francisco was first in both, which is like, holy shit, how'd you pull that off? And that's why they were such a juggernaut. This year, Baltimore's number 1 in scoring, and it's been a lot of bad luck, but their defense has not been bad by any stretch. Whereas the Vikings are 23rd and their offense is 10th, and it's okay. That's good. You need one of them to be in the top 10. That explains the 4-0 record, doesn't it? But how long is that number 10 spot going to be able to hold off that 23 spot?
Exactly. And that's and again, like this is where like stats also can get inflated because it's like, oh, the Green Bay Packers, for example, against the Vikings, oh, they got all their yards in the fourth quarter after they were down 28-3. Oh, okay. Or
right.
Whatever
and the defense was playing soft coverage.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, just dump it off. 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards. Eventually we're going to get to a touchdown, right? But they were playing soft. The Raiders beat the fucking Ravens and they've got a high-powered offense. It's like, how does that happen? So I think, like you said, you got to look at everything as well as the game. Like, what's going on in garbage time? Because Dallas last year against the Packers, they got all their points in like the last minutes of the third and in the fourth quarter. And the Packers were like, yeah, go ahead. We're going to win this game, right? So
and the luck rankings.
In the luck rankings.
That's something that's really important. So look, it looks like this. I'm going to share it. So this is the luck rankings. So look at number 1. It's Minnesota. Number 2 is Kansas City. Now this measures like dropped interceptions, missed field goals, stuff like that. Right. So it's not a coincidence that the 2 luckiest teams are 4-0. And look, the Commanders, right? That's important to know.
Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh,
these teams have
Seattle.
been getting lucky. Not against Denver, they didn't, but Denver's actually pretty lucky. Now look at the bottom. Look at Jacksonville. They've had every ball not bounce their way. They've had wide open receivers drop touchdowns. They've had missed field goals. They've had penalties that cost touchdowns, all of this kind of stuff.
I really thought that said Cleveland twice there above Jacksonville. I was like, wow, so bad they got them twice.
But that checks, right? Cincinnati and Jacksonville
Mhm.
and even San Francisco, right? Because they're so talented, they're able to overcome all the unluck and get to 500. But they've been unlucky, which kind of explains some of these losses. The Giants have also been pretty unlucky at 20. The Jets 21. Baltimore, they were 31st last week. Things are starting to bounce their way. But yeah, that's another like thing to keep an eye on, because the machines that do this are so advanced, and it's pretty remarkable the technology that we have now.
Yeah, the stats again definitely need to be looked at, but the games need to be watched. The tape needs to be studied. The all 22 needs to be dissected for sure. We got Lily with another fiver. Let's not sleep on the Jets here. Remember when Peeps slept on the Jets last year against Philly? I think Jets beat the Vikings, and I like where you're going, Lily, because we're gonna start.
Do they play?
Yeah, that's one of the matchups coming up here. Let's take a quick look. Jets are at Vikings, which brings us a very, very good. But before we get to our picks, Kyle and I, and actually that was our
Top 5, no debating. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
top 5, and they are there at the bottom at the ticker. Our Kyle and I's top 5 at the bottom there of your screen. We're gonna rank the rookies, the skill players here, right? We're not gonna go into defensive linemen, offensive linemen. It's just like quarterbacks, wide receivers, Kyle. So, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Are we pulling from the same pool of players?
Yeah. So just to lay it all out there, here we go. We're going to go quarterbacks, right? In order that they were picked, and we're not going to involve Drake May because he's barely played, and obviously JJ McCarthy and Penix because they haven't played. Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. Wide receivers, we're going to go Marvin Harrison, who was picked second or third or fourth overall, whatever it was. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, and that's kind of it. I feel like those are like the ones that have played the most over the course of this season. And those are the top 6 picks right there. So, Kyle, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Can we have one honorable mention at the end?
Absolutely, we can.
All right. I'll go first. All right. Number 1 is going to be Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. He joins this Bears team with the most talent of any of the quarterbacks, and also the most hype of any of the quarterbacks in generations. It hasn't all gone smooth. They're in a perfect world. That game against the Texans week 2 would have been like Caleb Williams' breakout game, and it would have been 41-45 Bears over the Strouds. That's not the way it's gone, and for that reason, I'm going to give Caleb a C. A C is average. Now, I'm inclined to give him above average, but I've expected, to be honest, I've expected so much more. Up to this point, and that's why I have to give him a C. It's because of where he started, in my opinion. But when you're talking about an F or a D grade, you're flirting with like, this guy might not be here next year. That is not what we're doing here with Caleb Williams. He's getting better every single week. But I just don't think the Bears have gotten off to the type of start I expected. They beat a depleted Rams team. And then they were able to hang on against, was it the Titans? No, they lost to the Titans, right?
No, they
beat the Titans,
lost to Texans.
But
lost
that game was a bunch of defensive touchdowns, and so you got the win over the Rams, and then the defensive win over the Titans, who the Titans are still 0-4. So I'm still waiting to see Caleb Williams have a significant win over a good team. Not to say that he can't do it. I just haven't seen it yet through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give Caleb Williams, I'm going to give him the C+.
Oh, I would have done a plus if I could. I did.
Okay.
I forgot about the pluses.
Wow, you forgot about, you'd be a terrible teacher. It's like, wow, Mr. Kitzman didn't give me applause. What a dick. I tried really hard. I'm giving him the C+, mostly because, again, of the expectations. What was expected of him kind of coming in? He came into a really, really good situation, probably one of the best situations you can as a rookie quarterback, really, I think maybe in history, if we're really looking at the whole thing. Number 1 overall pick as a quarterback. He showed a lot of what he can do these last couple weeks. The first 2 weeks were very, very much a struggle for him. He has improved in a lot of things. He keeps his eyes downfield, for example. He had over 360 yards week 3. He realized that he doesn't need to do that every week. This past week 4, by checking down DeAndre Swift to his tight ends, doing that. He's got incredible throws. Like, there are some on the move where he's gotten to Cole Kmet where I'm just like, wow, that is a NFL veteran type of throw, right? So it's very impressive what he's done. Even more impressive with what he's been able to handle, changing things at the line, staying in the pocket, looking downfield, kind of trusting his line, and still under pressure being able to deliver that ball to his wide receivers. C+, again, because there has been a lot of hiccups, and he takes a lot of sacks sometimes because he stays in the pocket a little too long, but that could also be a product of a shitty offensive line. But C+ for Caleb Williams.
All right. Jayden Daniels, A+. My favorite quarterback entering the draft. He's been the most impressive rookie throughout the first 4 weeks of the season, especially over the last 2 weeks. He actually had a 95.9 PFF grade week 3. And last year he had last week he had an 82. But mind-blowing stat here. He's actually recorded just 8 incompletions over the last 2 weeks of football.
Oh my God.
Jayden Daniels is going to win Rookie of the Year. He has changed. He's already turned around the Commanders franchise. And whenever you draft a quarterback and by week 4, you have the team believing that you can go deep into the playoffs in the NFC, it's unbelievable. And it doesn't happen very often. It happened last year with Stroud. Yeah, I think it's possible Jayden Daniels has a better season than CJ did last year. Yeah,
no, CJ Stroud, A+. The Commanders got a good one. They got a good one. Again, reminiscent of CJ Stroud last year, who was similar to, who was it? Luck with the Colts, his rookie season. And then prior to that, or no, same time, RG3 with the former Washington Redskins. Great seasons from these 4 guys. So like every once in a while you get these talents who come in rookie seasons and are just having an amazing season. And that's exactly what Jayden Daniels is doing. He's able to move with his feet. He's able to complete the passes. 81% of his passes have been completed. That is the highest percentage completion of passes in the NFL amongst all the quarterbacks. And he's the one doing it. And he's getting multiple touchdowns with his legs, as well as through the air. I mean, he's throwing bombs. He's got accuracy. He's just doing it all right now. There's very little bad, if any, to say about Jayden Daniels. He looks like a fucking star right now, for sure. A+.
Yeah, and Jayden Daniels, stat-wise right now, he's got 3 touchdown passes, but he's looked so much better than the stats are showing. So,
yep.
Number 3 and number 4 are going to be NA because both of those quarterbacks haven't played yet. McCarthy and Drake May.
Well, Drake May had 1 drive, and it looked decent, but it's 1 drive.
Yeah, not good enough to grade. It wouldn't be fair either way.
Exactly.
So we'll go to Bo Nix, who's the 3rd quarterback that's starting right now. And for him, I'm going to give him a C flat. Like he hasn't done anything to lose us any football games, in my opinion. I thought he's protected the ball well. The game last week against Tampa, There was a moment where it was 3rd and long, and there was a blindside blitz coming, and at the last second, he dips down, maneuvers through the pocket, and runs for 25 yards. I'm so used to seeing that play be a sack. I'm so used to seeing us not be able to move the chains on 3rd and long. There's been growing pains, but Nix has shown that there's something special about him. His poise is really just something that is so obvious. He doesn't look shaky. The moment's not too big for him. They ask about his confidence after every single press conference, and whether he wins or loses, he's the same guy. A true professional, and you can tell that he's 26 years old. He doesn't seem like a rookie, but he still has some room to improve. I think he does improve, and I think he's about to have his best game of the year next week. But so far, anything less than a C would to me just not be right, because he's got his team beating teams like the Jets and the Bucks, and regardless of how they're doing it, your quarterback needs to at least not suck to offensively. If he throws picks in these games, if he fumbles on sacks, if he just makes bad reads, Denver doesn't win these last 2 games, and we're winning football games with him.
I got to give him a C-. I can't go above a C, Kyle. He's had issues throwing the ball forward. 60 yards last week, week 4. Yes, the weather. Yes, things. What I do think is in his favor is Sean Payton as his coach. Sean Payton handpicked him. When you got a coach who handpicks you, you're going to be that guy's guy. So he's got that to kind of lean on, because he knows he's going to put his time and a lot of effort into Bo Nix, and Bo Nix is going to do the same thing. At this point in time, if you ask me, do you want Bo Nix or Caleb Williams? Because really they're kind of on in that same grade level that we're talking about. Even as a Bears fan, and I'm sure a lot of other fans out there that are not Bears or Broncos fans would take Caleb Williams in this situation. I can't go above a C. It's just C- for me, but he's doing the right things. He got his first touchdown to Courtland Sutton just this past week against the Jets. Like you said, he's beating the Jets, who are having high-powered offenses. He's beating the Bucks, who are having high-powered offenses. His defense is doing extremely well to keep them in games. And like you said, he's not doing anything to lose the games for them. So a lot of teams want a guy who doesn't make any mistakes, doesn't lose them games. That's what Bo Nix is doing, but I got to give him a lesser grade than Caleb Williams.
He'll be Josh Allen in 2 years. Josh Allen wasn't Josh Allen year 1 either.
That's true.
Okay, so those are our quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receivers. First wide receiver taken, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to give him an A. I know the stats don't scream A, but when you actually watch Cardinals games and watch him play, he was everything he was advertised to be. Like, yeah, that hasn't resulted in the same kind of production you've gotten out of Malik Neighbors, but I don't think it has much to do with Marvin Harrison. We're kind of grading the player, not the team. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be one of the good wide receivers in this league. He's a home run. So I don't think anything's changed there. I'm going to give him an A.
This was Marvin Harrison, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's no reason to give him an A-. I'm giving him an A. Like, there's nothing that he has done bad either.
Yeah, he's getting separation, all that.
Exactly. He's getting separation. He's the leading wide receiver, it seems like, right now on that Cardinals team. He's an A. He's just doing what he's supposed to do. He was the first receiver taken off the board, and he's doing exactly what he was advertised as. There's not a bad word I can say about Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, this comment here, I mean, Neighbors is better than Marvin Harrison Jr., and this is going to be a constant theme because they're from the same class. But to me, it's like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I mean, it's like, sure, okay, Whoever, if somebody said Jamar Chase is better than Justin Jefferson, you're not going to call him dumb. And if somebody said vice versa, you'd be like, yeah, I can see that too. I
Yeah.
think they're both just going to be great receivers, and I think they can coexist. But I understand coming from the same draft class that there's going to be a competitive nature involved in that, which takes us to Malik Neighbors, who gets an A+ for me. Malik Neighbors is on pace of breaking a bunch of records. He's already almost broke the record for most receiving yards through the first 4 weeks. Puka Nacua still has it. But when you look at the production, he's had a 25-yard catch in every single game that he's played, a 25-yard reception or more. He's always seemingly open, even though there's been enough weeks where teams know that's the focal point of the Giants offense. They're not really able to slow him down, and he's just a freak. He's going to be Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase is going to be Marvin Harrison. That's like my comp for him. And I kind of said this going into the draft where I was like, there's not a right pick. It just depends on what you want out of your receiver. But both of these receivers are going to be really good in the NFL, probably both Hall of Famers.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors A+. There's no doubt in my mind about this A+ right here. Jaden Daniels, through 4 weeks, best QB of the rookie class. Malik Neighbors, best wide receiver of this rookie class. Again, I agree with you. Hey, Malik Neighbors is better. Hey, Marvin Harrison Jr. is better. Sure, they are both really fucking good, and they're doing the exact thing that they were drafted for their teams. But Malik Neighbors is doing it a little bit better. The only reason I'm giving him an A+ and giving him the edge here is because who's throwing him the ball? Daniel Jones versus Kyler Murray.
Danny Dimes. He's got a better quarterback.
Baby. He's clearly got the much better quarterback, right? So Malik Neighbors is doing a lot with a little less compared to Marvin Harrison Jr. That's why I love Malik Neighbors. I'm giving him the A+.
All right, Rome Odunze, C-. He's been good, right? It's not like anybody regrets the pick, but he hasn't been special.
No.
Now, how much of that is Rome Odunze and how much of that is Caleb Williams learning the offense? How much of that was it Luke Getsy? Or not Luke Getsy.
Shane Waldron.
Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
How much of that is Shane Waldron or Matt Eberflus or whatever name that pisses you off that you want to throw out there, because all these guys' names drive me mad, and I'm not even a Bears fan. Just because I feel like there is a lot of talent being wasted, especially when you see what the Commanders are able to do so quick. Maybe they need to simplify the offense for him, but I think he'll be all right. But he was drafted as a all-around receiver. Like, if he was different than all the other receivers in the way where if you needed him to go in the slot, he can go in the slot. You need him to go outside, he can go outside. You need him to run block, he can do that too.
Yeah.
There was not a situation that Rome Odunze wouldn't be able to contribute to the team, where all the other receivers have something they excel at, other things they don't. So to me, by nature, Rome Odunze is kind of a quiet receiver. He reminds me of like a Larry Fitzgerald, or no, not Larry, Anquan Boldin, Boldin. So, not going to be like your Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, but somebody that could definitely play a significant role. Somebody that like could be a reason you get to a Super Bowl. But he's going to need to get there. The whole offense needs to get there. I'm going to give him a C- for now.
Yeah, I'm just giving him a straight C. I agree with a lot of what you said. He is asked and does a lot. Again,
Yeah.
can he go down the seam? Absolutely. Can he go across the middle, which you see mostly what he does? Absolutely. Can he do a flat? Can he run block? Can he pass block? Or not pass block? Can he, block for a wide receiver screen or something? Yes, he can do all that. And I know he's looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's looking at Malik Neighbors and being like, God damn it, right? Because unfortunately, he's got Caleb Williams as a rookie quarterback, and not unfortunately in the sense that he's a bad quarterback. It's just that they're both rookies. You've got Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. getting veteran quarterbacks thrown at you, no matter, regardless of where they're ranked in quarterback rankings. These guys are veterans, right? They know where to put the ball. They've been in the league for so many years for a reason. So yeah, he hasn't been spectacular. He has shown that he can get separation. He has shown that he can get wide open, and he's hauled in some difficult passes. But the game hasn't been there where you're just like, holy shit, this is why he was picked number 9 overall. Like a Malik Neighbors, like a Marvin Harrison Jr. with multiple touchdowns in a game, like what Bill said about that Malik Neighbors stat, right? Like those games just haven't been there. Will they be there in the future? Possibly. The Bears have a lot of offensive weapons, but they're also just now starting to figure out how to work this offense to their favor. So for a C for me, but clearly Malik Neighbors, best wide receiver so far, and Jane Daniels, best quarterback so far of this rookie class in terms of skill positions.
Yeah, and just clarify, I didn't mean simplify the offense for Rome. I meant for Caleb, so Rome gets more opportunities. Now, the next wide receiver is Brian Thomas Jr., who I'm actually going to give a B minus to, just because I've seen what he's capable of. He's had games where he's been able to get separation, sticky hands, contested catches. Now the Jaguars as a whole are struggling right now, but I feel like once they get going, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the number 1 for them. And it's like, okay, Brian Thomas Jr., he's the number 1 and you can move on. You don't have to think about it. And I feel like that's what you're really looking for when you draft a wide receiver in the first round. And I think Jacksonville, they definitely got that. Now he's 6'3", and he ran a 4.3 40, and he's like 220 pounds or something crazy. So like he's an absolute freak of nature.
Dog shit.
And he's going to be good for a while. I'm going to give him B minus.
I'm also going to give him a C. I know it's the player we're ranking, but I mean, the quarterback throwing the offense is also a factor in this. Like, don't get me wrong. I agree. He's probably going to be number 1 soon, if not by the end of this year, definitely by next year, because he's a damn good wide receiver. And it's just a shame that the offense right now, and obviously the struggles with Trevor Lawrence and losing 9 starts in a row, whatever, that he's also just a not, I don't want to say losing, but suffering from that portion of it. He's going to be a wide receiver in the league though. And on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, it's not Christian Kirk. It's going to be Brian Thomas Jr. next year. So Brian Thomas with a C.
All right. Xavier Worthy's going to get an A minus for me. I'm going to give him a B plus. Now he had a deep touchdown last week. He's seen the end zone 3 times, I believe, now in the first 4 weeks. So averaging almost a touchdown a week. So you want to give him an A minus, but the production hasn't really been there. The touchdowns have, but he had 2 touches and 2 touchdowns the first week.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he had 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. One of them was a handoff. So I feel like the Chiefs are still figuring out how to utilize him effectively. The offense is struggling a little bit, but Xavier Worthy seems like he's going to be he's going to finally fill the hole that Tyreek Hill left. It's not happening right away. But when Xavier Worthy's on the field and he's scoring, 60-yard touchdowns and he gets the ball in space, and you can just see like this guy's going to be a problem for a while.
Yeah, I'm giving him a a B for big play. That's what I'm giving him a B for because, yeah, he's a big play guy. He's got 2 touchdowns, 154 yards, 9 receptions through 4 games. That's who he is. That he's the speedster. He's, like you said, going to come up for or going to be similar to what Tyreek Hill was, like big play guy. But Tyreek Hill is clearly a number 1 wide receiver who is going to get those passes. It doesn't matter if it's a big play or not. It could be 10 yards, 15 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards. They're going to get the ball in his hand. So I'm going B for big play for Xavier Worthy just because of touchdowns and he's dynamic. He's dynamic. So that was the rookie rankings. Let us know if you disagree or
We
agree.
got 2 more.
Who else we got?
Ricky Pearsall.
He hasn't even played a game.
He gets an A+ for absolute animal. Dude got shot and was in the gym the next week, so he gets an A. And
still
Xavier,
wore the Rolex they were trying to rob off him.
Xavier Legette
Yeah.
for the Panthers. I'm gonna give him a C+. He's looked good.
Yeah.
No, I really like him.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be
Yeah.
good in the league. That's why I didn't want to go past him because I think he's the last pick in the first round, but I think he's gonna be a good. I think he's gonna get that next contract with the Panthers. It's gonna be one of those big money ones.
I could see him being like a oh God, I don't really know who to compare him to, but those wide receivers who are very good and
Randy
stick
Moss.
around in the league. Maybe, possibly, but like they just like he stays on the same team. He's the number 1, but he's not like
Steve Smith.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that, and the Panthers connection there. Yeah, I could see that.
Do you remember Dwayne Jarrett?
Not really.
Dwayne
name sounds familiar.
Jarrett was the best receiver. Remember when Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart were at USD? He
Yeah.
was their receiver, and he was like,
Oh.
he was awesome. He was like my favorite receiver at the time, and then he got drafted, and he just like struggled with alcoholism, and Steve Smith was like had beef with him because he was like, bro, you got to work. And I was actually recently, when you Google like where is Dwayne Jarrett, like you just wake up one morning and you're like, what the hell happened to that guy? But anyway, yeah, Steve Smith was drafted, I guess, like that same year, and it's just crazy how different their years turned out. One of them was like a 2nd round pick, and the other one was like one of the highest recruited wide receivers of that draft.
Yeah.
And Steve Smith panned out, and
Mhm.
the other one didn't. So it'll be interesting to see how this ages. But overall, I mean, this was a record. 7 wide receivers drafted in the first round. Well, it's the record for the most. It tied the record. So I think a lot of you don't draft 7 receivers in the first round without the majority of them being great, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. Well, those were our rookie rankings. Again, hopefully you guys agreed or disagreed. Let us know in the comments. And Kyle, let's move on to predictions.
Always
for
a good time.
Let's move on to predictions for week 5. We're going to kind of go through these a little quickly just because we are over 2.5 hours here. And then we're going to get into the chives, and then we're going to get out of here. But Thursday night football tomorrow night is going to be an NFC South matchup. Bucks at Falcons. Kyle, who you got?
I'm taking the Bucks.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks. Baker Mayfield coming off a really big win. I like Mike Evans to have a big game. I think Baker Mayfield shines on primetime. I'll take the Bucks here.
yeah, I'm going to agree. I like the Bucks here. I know the Falcons are at home. They're coming off a very last-second win with Young Wei-Koo with that kick. The Falcons came out with the win, but again, it's not very convincing. I am also going Bucks to go into Mercedes-Benz Stadium and take the dub. That's Thursday Night Football. Second week in a row that Kyle and I agree on Thursday Night Football. So we're both going to be wrong.
No,
What?
all right. No, I was going to say we got our first London game.
Hey, London.
Let's go. I'm taking the Jets over the Vikings in London. Aaron Rodgers is historically good on prime or on London, which is kind of prime time, but it's like the opposite because everyone's sleeping. But it's the only game on, so it's like the inverse of a primetime game. But you can get tickets for $180, which isn't a bad price if you're in London watching this right now. But I'm going to go with the Jets. I think they're going to want to get that taste out of their mouth. I think the Vikings defense is going to allow the Jets to get back to being effective offensively. I think it's going to be a sneaky good game. But I don't see the Vikings as a 5-0 team. I think 4-1 makes more sense. I think the Jets are going to win this game, and I think they win it by probably like I'll say 7-8, somewhere around there.
Ooh, okay, I like it. Talked a lot of shit about the Vikings being a damn good team. I have a very difficult time seeing Aaron Rodgers and the Jets go 2-3. I am also taking the Jets. They get above 500 in London. Jets take the dub over the Vikings, who are technically at home, but both of these teams got to travel. It's going to be a pain in the ass for all of them. I think the Jets get over 500 and the Vikings are handed their first loss of the season.
Wow. So we agree on 2 in a row?
Oh my God. What is this?
I don't know, dude. Do you want to start over?
Yeah, let's start over. Hey, welcome to the only football button.
No, not that far. Not that far. All right. So next up, we got the 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with the 49ers. Pretty easy pick, in my opinion. Cardinals are going to be at home, so naturally it's going to be a little difficult, but
Niners will be at home, actually.
Oh, the Niners are going to be at home.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going Niners on this one, but don't be surprised if Arizona gives them a run for their money. The 49ers are a struggling team right now. They're going to be a little inflated because they beat up on a practice squad last week, but Arizona also just lost to a team that looks like one of the better teams in the NFC. So just pump your brakes on thinking Arizona's shitty and the Niners are good. It's a little reactionary, in my opinion. I expect this to be a really tight game. I think the 49ers squeak it out in the end.
It's a little reactionary coming from the guy who put Broncos number 4 in his top 5. All right, for me,
defense in the NFL.
They're damn good defense. I'm going 49ers as well. At home. This might be a bit of a tricky game for the 49ers, but I don't want to overthink this. Like you said, I think the Cardinals are going to come out and I think Marvin Harrison honestly gets 2 touchdowns in this. Is it difficult against the 49ers team? Sure, because the 49ers can do everything correctly. Juwan Jennings is a beast. Mason is a beast, and they've still got Brandon Ayuk and struggling with George Kittle as well there in that offense. So I'm still thinking the 49ers, not going to overthink this with the Cardinals, but the Cardinals going to score some points for sure.
Yeah, I thought you were going to overthink that for sure.
Going Cardinals now. No.
We got the Bills and Texans, which is going to be a really, really interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo has seen a total of 205 points scored compared to what should be like 175.9 according to the expected scores. Mm-hmm. So that's almost a 30-point gap between those 4 games, which makes the Bills a pretty unlucky team, but they've been able to overcome. I think this game is going to be a really tough one to bet. I would stay away from this one. Honestly, I this would be my don't touch it of the week. But
love it.
If you are asking me, I'll take the Bills here.
Oh, Bills. The visitors taking the dub. Our first disagreement. I'm going Texans. Texans have not looked great. The Bills coming off a very, very bad loss against the Ravens, in which the entire NFL is asking, like, what the hell just happened to the Bills, right? But they still got Josh Allen, but the Texans are at home. They've still got all their weapons. Their defense, I feel like, may want to prove a little bit something as well after kind of not a very good showing against the Jags. It just felt like, I don't know, the Jags game wasn't a very good one. They didn't win until the very last second, right? Or 18 seconds left. But I'm taking the Texans at home to win this one. I think this is going to be a very good game. Like you said, like a don't touch it. I think it's going to go back and forth. I actually think it's going to be a low scoring game, like a 21-20, 24-21, something like that kind of game. But the Texans at the end of it take it at home.
All right. Next up, we got which one? I just lost my page.
Just lost his balls.
Okay, next up, wait, what? Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Falcons.
We already went over that one.
Right. I'm sorry, I was. I'm just messing with you. All right, we got the Texans and the Bills. No, I'm kidding. We got the Panthers and the Bears.
Let's go.
The battle of the Panthers and the Bears, two wild animals that you can find in the desert. In this case, in the
desert. You can find these animals in the desert.
I'm taking the Panthers.
Oh, you bitch.
I know. But the Panthers,
oh, man.
they're looking really good since they put in Andy Dalton. I'm seeing how the Bears are struggling. I'm seeing what it's taking for the Bears to win football games. They're 30th offensively. Their defense is pretty good, but the Panthers offensively is a much better team now. Passing game's 26 for the Bears. Rushing is 29th. They're just not doing anything well offensively. Whereas the Panthers almost beat the Bengals last week. And then ever since they took out Bryce Young, it's a different team. It feels disrespectful, but that's because we haven't adjusted to Andy Dalton yet. This is a different team.
Yeah, that's true. This game was something I was looking forward to with Bryce Young at quarterback. Again, didn't expect for Bryce Young to suck this bad this year. I thought it was going to be a little bit better with Canales. But Andy Dalton being inserted into the starting quarterback position, you're right. The Panthers looked a little bit better offensively. The Bears like to take the ball away, though. They did it to Stafford last week, who doesn't give the ball away. So they were able to do it against Stafford. And yes, he's struggling again in terms of offensive weapons, but they were still able to do that against one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think they're going to be able to do that against Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, though, is going to be trying to get this win. Somewhat of a revenge game since he was a starter for the Bears for the first few games of Justin Fields' second season. But I'm taking the Bears, baby. I think they're going to take the ball away. Offensively, they fixed some things with Roshan. They fixed some things with the running game. Who knows what the offensive line is going to look like, but for some reason, without Tevin Jenkins, it looked better last week. Caleb Williams, hopefully he's also kind of not asked to do much in terms of a balanced offense, not having to throw the ball 40 fucking times or plus. So I think the Bears are going to take this, especially at home, especially against the Panthers, kind of show the Panthers like, hey, we got your wide receiver. We got your number one pick. We still got a second round pick coming. And look at all these guys we were able to get from the other picks where the Bears are going to win. And I'm calling a Bears win by 7 points. Game of the week.
Wow. Game of the week. Bears, Panthers. Love to see it. All right. Upset of the week for me. I'm taking the Bengals over the Ravens this week. Bengals are desperate, and one of the best things you can have when you're desperate is to show the world I mean, you don't need a bunch of wins. You just need one win over a really good opponent. And then the monkey is off your back. I think this is the kind of game where the monkey will get off of the Bengals and Joe Burrow's back. I look at their passing offense, sixth in the NFL. The Ravens are 16th. But they have the number one rushing offense. So I think the key to victory for the Bengals is to get out to a quick lead, make the Ravens have to abandon the running game, make them have to throw the ball to play catch up, and then just have Joe Burrow outduel Lamar Jackson in the passing game. Everybody's going to be going in on the Ravens. That was a really impressive win over the Bills, but the Bengals are at home. I think that stadium's going to be rocking for this game. And I expect the Bengals and their fan base to be all in this game. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere, but I'm taking the home team here and a surprising upset.
Kyle hates the Ravens, guys. Kyle hates the Ravens. I
picked them last week.
I know. I'm going Ravens here. Bengals are at home. Bengals defense is struggling. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's consistent. That's the Bengals, It's just the defense is struggling a bit against this very, very good rushing team with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill and Lamar Jackson who can do it fucking all, right? I'm taking the Ravens. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to task, but they are in Cincinnati, so it's going to be another close game. Joe Burrow, the last two games versus Baltimore, a combined 323 yards, both in losses. 27 for 41, 11 for 17 in those games. I gotta take the Ravens in this one.
Fair enough. And the Ravens are 49-30 as favorites on the road since 2004. So pretty good record. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking on Jacksonville. At this point, I might be crazy. I'm taking Jacksonville. I'm just doing it. They're at home. Their fans, the Jags owe their fans one, and unfortunately, they had to play the Texans last week, and the Texans are not a get right game. The Colts with Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco, whatever it's going to be, I think Jacksonville's going to win this game. It's a divisional game, and I think Jacksonville gets on the right track. I don't think that this is like a game where they win at the way end. I think this is a game where they're up like 21-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Oh, wow. All right. Another disagreement. I'm going Colts. I like Joe Flacco being at quarterback. Michael Pittman finally had his coming out game of this season last week. I don't really necessarily know if it was with Joe Flacco or not. It's just he had over 100 yards and it looked like, hey, there's the Michael Pittman we paid over the offseason. There's the Michael Pittman we saw last year. So with Joe Flacco there, if Joe Flacco continues to play like he did for the Browns last year, I think it's going to be what you said in terms of score, but the opposite. I really do think because this defense for the Colts is actually playing really well with missing players. Jags just... I don't know, man. There's no faith in there for me right now to pick the Jags again. So that's why I'm going Colts. Colts taking the dub in Jacksonville. It's going to be a tough 0-5 for Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence.
All right, next up we got the Dolphins taking on New England, and this is a weird one. New England's getting their favorite to win this game by 1 point at home. Offensively, they're 32nd. I think this is the perfect game to put Drake May in. This team right now for the Dolphins is really beatable. This could be a tune-up game. If you wanted to put him in and roll the dice. It's interesting though, because then you can't pull him out. I don't know what the right thing to do is. It depends what New England's goals are for this season. But normally when you think about tanking, you're tanking to get a quarterback. So why not just throw him in and see if you have your quarterback? And if he absolutely is awful, and you got the number 1 pick, then I don't know, maybe you draft another quarterback and have a quarterback competition between Shedeur Sanders and Drake May. Why not? I don't know why we don't see this kind of stuff more often, but that's a whole nother conversation. For this game, I'm going to take Miami. I'm going to take the coach I trust more. Tyler Huntley has been awful. It's hard to believe that he was a Pro Bowler. He seems like he's miles removed from stepping in for Lamar Jackson and looking good. But there's a lot to if you would have told me this was going to be a hard game to pick 4 weeks ago, I would have been like, what is going on? So, New England did beat the Bengals at home, and they're coming off a bad loss against the 49ers. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but I'm going to go with the coach I trust more, and that's Mike McDaniel.
I'm going to take Kyle's "don't touch it" phrase and apply it to this game, Dolphins and Patriots, because this is a disgusting game. And you're right. If you ask me week 1, hey, week 4, the Dolphins are in New England, who are you taking? I'd be like, the Dolphins. Duh. I'm taking Mike McDaniel, Tua, I'm taking Tyreek. I'm taking all these guys. And now it's just the most disgusting game week 4 has to offer, or week 5 has to offer. And in that case, I picked Mike McDaniels over Callahan against the Titans, and that didn't work out for me because right now Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson just cannot do anything with this offense. If you're Tyreek Hill, you're just having a rough time. I got to take the home team in this one. I'm taking the Patriots, and I don't like it. I feel disgusting. I'm going to go shower after this because I don't even feel good about this pick.
I was thinking about this really quick in 20, 30 seconds to answer this question. I was thinking about this when I was driving home, and I said, that's such a good question for the podcast. And I actually posted it on the Only Football YouTube page. If the Miami Dolphins were able to hop in a time machine, go back to July 2024, would they have paid Tua? And with that answer, if the Bears had the same opportunity, but they went back to April, would they have drafted Jaden Daniels? Go.
Knowing what we know through 4 weeks?
Right. Like knowing what we know now, we hop in a time machine.
Absolutely.
Do they pay Tua the money?
The Bears absolutely picked Jaden Daniels and Tua. What else have you got, though? Yeah, they pay him. I don't know if, actually.
But then you're locked in long term with him.
Right. Knowing what the Dolphins know now through 4 weeks, do they pay Tua with the?
Because you got to also the weird
injuries
kicker.
are hard though.
They're hard, but now they know that it's going to happen. And now the weird kicker here is that Mike McDaniel pounded the table for this deal to get done, and now the fact that he's hurt, Mike, you're not hearing anyone talk about this, but Mike McDaniel, he's the one that's like, fuck,
Yeah.
I literally went to ownership and was like, pay this guy. And now he's not even available. So that just makes things even more complicated.
I just don't see a world or an off season in which the Dolphins look good going into this year without Tua. I don't know who they'd pick up. I don't know. Like, do you trade for somebody? And if you do, are you giving up draft capital or are you giving up your just big guys?
I think you're just like, okay, we're not going to pay him. We're going to start him. We know he gets hurt week 2. And then week 2, when he gets hurt on Thursday Night Football, you already knew it was going to happen. But at the end of the year, he's not under contract anymore. So then you, I guess, draft because you know that you start losing all your games. Or you lock in a 4-year contract, spend $240 million or whatever it was, and you're like, we're going to pay all this money, and he's not even going to play. If he gets one more concussion, because every time he gets one, why isn't he back yet?
Well, I mean, at that point, I guess it's just an easy question of yes, you don't pay him. But that's like obviously knowing everything. I just think
right, but that's the point of this is you do know everything.
Right, but that's like saying
it's a time machine.
If that's like saying if the Bears knew what they know now, week 5 of the 2024 season, do you go back and draft Mahomes? It's like, yeah, no shit. Of course you do that.
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
it's different because we have a long history of Mahomes being successful, whereas Bears fans could still believe in the long run that Jaden Daniels isn't going to be more successful than Caleb Williams. You're still saying, okay, we have 4 weeks of data, and we're going to say because of those 4 weeks, which is really only 2 games of Jaden Daniels looking good, that
Mhm.
we're going to say that Jaden Daniels has a higher ceiling than Caleb Williams. That's the question, is like, do you feel that way after 2 games where you're going to give up Caleb Williams to make a different draft pick because of these 2 football games? I mean, RG3 looked good for a couple games, but how did that turn out? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I guess I'm more applying this to the Tua situation. It's like he's getting hurt and he's going to be concussed and he's going to be out for 4 weeks, and our offense is going to look anemic without a quarterback. It's like, yeah, you don't pay him, you definitely tank. I guess I'm just wondering, like, where
I
is
guess,
the difficult
yeah.
question? Like, where's
Well,
the
the difficult
difficulty of
question
the?
is, like, if the Miami Dolphins knew that he was going to get a concussion and miss time this season, would they have handcuffed themselves to a long term? Which
I
is
don't think
still a
so.
question, because you still wonder, okay, well, what if when he comes back, he plays the rest of his contract out? But
Hmm.
what if he doesn't? That's the
Yeah,
question.
I guess too. Like because they already have to take that into consideration regardless. Like, hey, remember year 3 when he just kept getting concussed? Like that sucked.
Yeah.
Or year 2, whatever it was. But it was like, oh, then year 3, he's actually one of the best quarterbacks in terms of yards and sort of whatever of that season back in 23. And it's like, yeah, I think we pay that guy, again, because the question now is like, after Tua got concussed, it's like, oh, is he going to retire? And regardless of whether he is or isn't, it's like, if people are asking if your 27-year-old quarterback is going to retire at that age, yeah, 100%, you don't sign that deal. 100%.
Fair
Like,
enough.
definitely
All
not.
right.
Yeah.
So we'll keep flying through these. So we got Cleveland and Washington. I'm taking Washington.
Yeah.
They're at home. I expect another great game out of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, there's no question about this one. Browns look like shit. Commanders look great. Going Commanders at home all day.
All right, next up we got the Broncos at home against the Raiders. Taking the Broncos. They're going to be wearing their 1977 throwback uniforms. The crowd, the last time they were at home, I was there. Disappointing loss. I think they make up for it. And they haven't beaten the Raiders since they moved to Las Vegas, which is a crazy stat because the Raiders haven't
That's
even been
so
good.
weird. Yeah.
And it just seems overdue. I think Denver gets this win, and they have a winning record after week 5, which is pretty cool.
I know you don't want me to do this, Kyle, but the throwback uniforms at home, the way the Raiders team looks right now with Devontae Adams out, with the quarterback
Oh, don't do
situation,
it. Don't do it.
I'm going Raiders. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going Broncos at home. You
Oh,
can't bet
no.
against those uniforms. You can't
It's
bet
the
against those
tattoos.
uniforms.
It's the
And the
tattoos, anyway.
Tattoos equal tree and O. And the uniforms, the Orange Crush, like, god damn, they look good. I got to take the Broncos at home. The defense is outstanding right now.
You look good, you play good. All right, we got
You play good, you
the
get paid good.
yep. The Packers and the Rams. I'm taking the Packers. The Rams are depleted right now. They're missing a lot of their pieces. Jordan Love, that second half was, I mean, he did miss time. Like, it was going to take some time for him to get going. He got going. He'll be fine. Green Bay, though, cool storyline. You got Sean McVay going against Matt LaFleur. People that are coming from the same tree. This should be a really, they have history. It's going to be a good matchup. This is one that McVay really wants to win, and he's going to want to be like, no, I am still the teacher and you're still the student. He's going to want a little bro Matt LaFleur. I expect the Rams to have a really big game, and I think this is going to be a weirdly higher scoring game. I'm going to go Green Bay like 31-34.
Oh, okay. Green Bay 34-31. I like it. I'm also going to take the Packers. Jordan Love gets his first win of the season as a starter against the Rams. Unfortunately, I got to pick the Packers in this because,
you want to wear,
like you said, absolutely fucking not. That thing touches me. I'm killing it.
All right, chill.
I'm killing it. I'm stabbing it through the heart. There's this rap battle, real quick, 30 seconds. There's this rap battle where it's like two English guys from like Britain or whatever, and they're rap battling, and the first guy goes, and it's like a good one, like he's, oh, that's good. And then the second one is just dog shit. And it turns into the guy literally threatening the other guy with violence, but like in a rap. It's so bad, Kyle, you'd be disappointed.
It's like the scene with that Amy Schumer movie where John Cena's threatening that guy, but he keeps doing it in a gay way and he can't stop. He's like, I will fuck you in the ass. And then finally he's like, meet me outside. I'll be the first guy you find on Grindr. And she's like, that's gay.
I've fucked guys in prison like you.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But let's get back to it. I'm going Packers. It pains me to say it, but the Rams don't look great right now. The Rams don't look great. Jordan Love throws for 300 yards and gets his first win of the season.
All right, we got the Giants and the Seahawks. This is weird. I'm going Giants here, actually. I think the Giants are going to get a win. Seattle gets their first loss, I think, playing on Monday Night Football. Not a lot of rest. The type of game they were playing in can be really exhausting when you're able to do so much offensively and yet you don't win. One of the areas that I'm looking at defensively is the running game for Seattle, which kind of was going a little bit. The Giants are 15th in stopping the run, which is, in my opinion, good enough. Now, the Seahawks are number 1 in the NFL in their passing offense right now. The Giants are going to need to have a good passing defense against this team. And the Giants right now are 14th. So giving up 193 passing yards per game, that's pretty good. So I think the Giants are going to be able to hold them off defensively from scoring a shit ton of points. This game's in Seattle. It's a far travel. But I think this is one of those games where nobody saw it coming. Every week there's one. And people are like, well, you couldn't have predicted that. Yes, I could have. Giants beat the Seahawks.
Bill, I'm sorry, but I'm going Seahawks at home, the 12 in Seattle against the Giants. Malik Neighbors right now in the early stages of concussion protocols, so don't love to hear that from your star wide receiver. What I will say is Giants running back Devin Singletary might have a really good game. The Seahawks are missing some guys on their defensive line. So I think I'm going to say this is a pretty big game for Devin Singletary in the run game, because I feel like the passing game, although they still have Wan'Dale Robinson there, might not be as electrifying as it is with Malik Neighbors. So look for this to be a run heavy offense from the Giants against this kind of depleted Seahawks defensive line, but I'm still going to take the Seahawks and Geno Smith after what he showed last week.
All right, Sunday Night Football, we got Dallas and the Steelers. I'm taking Dallas. So the Steelers are scoring 18 points per game. Not good, right? Not enough points. Trust me, I know. Scoring's down, though. Normally, when you score 18 points per game, you're the worst in the NFL historically. I know, because we scored 16.9 points per game, and then we scored 18 points. Well, right now, you have basically half of the NFL scoring under 20 points per game, which is just a mind-blowing stat, right? Yeah. Tennessee, Houston, Raiders, Bears, Jets, Rams, Falcons, Steelers, Panthers, Chargers, Browns, Broncos, Jaguars, Giants, Patriots, and Dolphins are all scoring under 20 points per game right now.
Jesus.
Remarkable. But the Dallas Cowboys are scoring 24.3 points. So it's not the Cowboys we're used to, but when you consider the context of the year, Dallas is doing better than a lot of teams. Tampa Bay and Dallas are tied offensively, 4 points per game. And we say Tampa Bay's offense is great, but we don't say Dallas's offense is good. And that's because we expect so much more of Dallas. So let's keep in mind they're averaging the same amount of points. I think Dallas is able to outscore this Steelers team.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cowboys as well in this one. I don't know why. I I shouldn't. The defense on the Steelers side is still really damn good, and you said it earlier. The only offensive weapon the Cowboys have is CeeDee Lamb. Obviously aside from Dak Prescott. The running backs have not looked good. Dowdle, whatever the fuck his name is, has looked a little bit better. Obviously better than Ezekiel Elliott. But Ferguson is the only other big contributor, I think, on this offense for Dak Prescott in terms of weapons. I hope Jake Ferguson has a really good game because I got him on my fantasy squad. But I'm going Cowboys against my better judgment. I don't know. I don't know why. I should be picking the Steelers, but I'm going Cowboys.
You're on the right side here. And the Steelers are fourth in the NFL in defensive yards allowed per game with 261, but they're coming off their first loss of the season. And guess what? They give up 358 yards in that loss. So that's what happens when you play a real team. So I think you're on the right side. This game's in Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Steelers have that going for them. You're right. It is like you want to go Steelers. They're at home. They got a good record, prime time.
Yeah.
But I think Dallas is a better team right now.
Yeah.
Now, Monday Night Football. We got the Saints and the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so fired up about this game because finally the Chiefs are playing a team that is not great, but they're finally playing someone that's good enough to beat them.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Here's some of my notes for this game because I was really pumped up about this. I didn't know we were going to go this fast when I got my notes together. Atlanta scored 26 points against New Orleans last week, but they never actually ran a play in the red zone the entire game. The Falcons entered the red zone one time, but then, I know. Then they left immediately because of a penalty. The Falcons instead scored 4 long Young-Ho field goals, including the 58-yarder to win the game, and they had 2 defensive special team touchdowns. That's an unsustainable way of scoring, which is why they had an expected score of only 14.7 points, but scored so much more. So what am I saying? I'm saying that without the lucky touchdowns against the Saints last year, the Saints should have covered their 5.5 spread that they had. And they lead the Chiefs in all 4 facets of offensive and defensive pass and rushing yards per game, which is basically the most important stats. In we say stats can be inflated, deflated, not really these ones, because those advantages, in my opinion, mean that the Saints are better on every single side of the ball in every single dimension of the offense and defense. The Saints currently have the highest single expected wins using expected scores, while the Chiefs are 7th. Which is like a nerd stat I found out on this podcast, Sharp or Square, with Colin Coward and This Professional and Better. But basically, it just takes your performance and it gives you your expected wins, and it gets the wins by using expected scores. And the Saints have the highest expected scores for the rest of the season, which means they're going to lead the NFL in points this year, while the Chiefs are 7th. Both teams are suffering from injuries right now. You got the Chiefs, though, I think, suffering more important ones. The Chiefs are -4 right now, but I think that this is going to be a Saints win, and I think they're going to win by like 7. This game is in New Orleans, in Kansas City. But I still think the Saints, with that high-powered offense, they're going to finally be a task too high for the Chiefs. And that should say a lot about the Chiefs.
Yeah. I also wanted to pick the Saints. because of the offense and what they've been doing. It's been struggling a bit. It's hit a bit of a snag. The talent is clearly better, except at the quarterback and tight end position on the Saints. The wide receiver is a little bit better. The running back is clearly a lot better than Kareem Hunt. And that brings me down to the coach, like Andy Reid versus Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen has been in the Saints organization for like 5 years. And like, I barely remembered his name last season. Like, that's how kind of like, I don't want to say insignificant, but that's how much of not much of a stamp he has put on that team, the Saints. So I've got to take the Chiefs and their defense and their head coach and their quarterback at home versus the Saints. Again, you bring up a lot of good points, especially with the injuries too. I just got to go with the defense on the Chiefs. The Chiefs, like the defense there is going to be much, much better. I hope Alvin Kamara has a good game because he's on my fantasy team. But I think Mahomes over Derek Carr, Andy Reid over Dennis Allen, Travis Kelce over whoever the fuck they got at tight end, Foster Moreau or whatever on the Saints. Yeah, I'm going Chiefs with this one at home.
And just to make it even more suspenseful, opponent yards per game, Kansas City and New Orleans are right next to each other in the rankings.
Here we go. It's going to be a good Monday Night Football game then.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. And for all the bettors out there, I would say bet +6. It's at +6 right now for the Saints. So even if the Saints lose the game, they're not losing by more than 6, in my opinion. I think that's the wise move. Don't take the Saints straight up. Take the Saints +6.
Casey said, don't forget about Spags. That's right. And Kyle, I think it's time for the motherfucking.
Top 5, no debating.
Got him.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Kansas City Chiefs star wide receiver Rashee Rice's mom is accused of stealing packages with Chapel Roan records from the neighbor's porch.
Oh my God.
Just hours after her son's injury on Sunday, the theft was caught on video with her wearing a Mama Rice jersey.
Oh,
you can't make this shit up, I swear. I'm watching the video right now.
No.
It's literally her stealing a package with a jersey of her last name on it. That's like putting a driver's license up to a ring cam and then robbing them.
Which I have done. That's insane.
Yeah, that's what I got. I just mind blown about that. And the other thing I had was Jerry Jones's helicopter lands at Cowboys practice too. Jerry Jones showed up to practice today with his helicopter landing on the practice field. Jerry Jones, man, he's living the life, dude. Could you imagine just like owning your favorite team and then just being like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking the N4. I'm taking the N9 450C out for a spin. We're gonna land it on the practice field during practice, and then I'm gonna just dab up the players, and then just be like, "What's up? I'm fucking Jerry Jones, bitch. I'm here in my helicopter. Make room. I'm landing. Move."
I don't know how like this guy gets away with shit like this. It's like, hey guys,
why not?
You guys got to get off the field. The owner is parking his helicopter on the field in the middle of practice, and like you're Dak Prescott, you're like, all right, I guess I'll fucking stop my huddle real quick to move over to the side.
You got to think most of these players haven't seen a helicopter land in front of them like that. So
that's true.
They're all standing there just like, damn, that's pretty badass. Like, unless you live next to a hospital that has that life support pad right there, most people don't see Yeah. I did. I used to see it in Anacortes all the time.
Yeah, that's cool, right?
Yeah, I used to take Leo out there because I'd be like, it's like, hey, you want to go look at a helicopter? We would also get on the school buses. There was like, I lived in base housing, and there was a school there that had like a school bus that
Oh
would
yeah,
park over the weekend, and I would
yeah.
just walk over to it and take him onto the school bus, and he would pretend to drive it, and I'm like, I hope we don't get arrested, but
Which you should have probably. I that's crazy. Jerry Jones is he's an insane owner. I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, I really do. But yeah, those are my tribes. Jerry Jones is rich. Rasheed Rice's mom is stealing packages, caught on camera with a jersey of her last name, and Cortland Sutton on the Broncos losing 8 straight to the Raiders says it's all about looking ahead, not focusing on the past.
That's
And
right.
you know where he got that from? Remember Sean Payton's first day as the Broncos head coach? He took a car and put it outside, an abandoned car, put it outside the practice field, and took a baseball bat and took off its rearview mirrors and said, "It's a car without mirrors because we're not looking back." So every day when they go into practice, they have to pass this car with
Oh
no
man.
rear view mirrors
Oh
to
man.
symbolize that we're not looking to the past. And then he forgot about it for years until Cortland Sutton says this. And I'm like, huh, I wonder where he got that.
Sean Paytonisms. You gotta love it. These are my chives right here because I love this comment. Can I just say how much I love your new graphics? They are so much better. Great job, guys. Thank you, Bill. We worked pretty damn hard on them. Kyle
It
and I
was all
really
Rick.
we wanted to give the podcast a look. We decided we wanted to go neon. We wanted to go late night, even though mine is nowhere near as my background is nowhere near as good as Kyle's, which I will improve through the season. But we wanted to go with a look like that, and we agreed. We're like colors, neon, this, that, specific font. So I appreciate you guys appreciating our hard work on this. So thank you guys so much. Other than that, go follow us on X at and now Rick. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at NFL with Kyle.
And go follow the Only Football Podcast X at Only Football Pod. Go follow our YouTube pages at Yo I'm Rick and at Kyle Kitzman. Go follow us. And if you haven't already, please like the stream. We would appreciate it a lot. Hit subscribe. Tell your friends. Become a member for only $2.99. You become a member of the Only Football Fam. You get a cool badge. You get some members only posts. You get a shout out. You get emojis. And obviously it's always a great time here with the Only Football Fam.
I'm going to pat you on the back, Rick. Yeah.
Oh, it feels so good. Oh God, I feel so accomplished.
I'm scratching your back. I swear.
So thank you guys. Yeah, KC football for an olive. Yeah, we like that one too. But thank you guys again so much for joining us. It was a long stream, but we had to get through a lot, and we appreciate you guys being here the entire time. Thank you guys so much again. Become a member, subscribe, follow us on Twitch, follow us on X, and Kyle. Always a good time, brother.
Always a good time. See you.